Chapter 2373. Be careful! Feng Cantillon shouted as he waved the frightening evil spear and prepared to burn his life force for a final fight. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to block such an attack. Furthermore, the Heaven Baron sect patriarch's tribulation was not over yet. Wu Dao's true body suddenly opened his mouth and let out a roar filled with endless majesty. The roar seemed to contain the cries of billions of living beings, forming a visible ripple that spread in all directions. Sound Domain's secret technique, sound of all spirits. After Wu Dao's true body condensed the true Wu Dao body, his primordial spirit and physical body had reached an even more terrifying level, and the power of this secret technique had also skyrocketed. This sound of all spirits even covered the rolling thunder of the heavenly tribulation. The four true demon experts trembled all over. Yanzhe, Long Mo, and Li Padian had powerful bloodlines and physical bodies, and even though they were a little further away, they still felt incomparably ear-piercing and had pained expressions. Fairy Zai's physical body and bloodline were weaker, and her body swayed as a trace of blood seeped out of her ears. Even the experts on the true demon ranking suffered such a powerful impact, let alone the hundreds of true demons around them. Dozens of true demons who rushed to the front and were closest to Su Zimo could not withstand such a terrifying impact and directly exploded into pieces, blood filling the air. There were dozens of true demon experts with dull eyes and stiff expressions. Their heads tilted as they fell from the sky. Their primordial spirits had been shattered in their consciousness. Even with Feng Cantian's experience, he was greatly shocked. Below the prison-suppressing cauldron, Gu Tongyu and the others were in disbelief. More than 100 true demon experts had been roared to death by the patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect. The remaining true demons also suffered quite a bit of impact. Some true demons spat out blood, and some had their flesh split open, erupting into clouds of blood mist. It was a tragic sight. Apart from the four true demon experts, the other true demons all suffered a violent impact. Their divine powers dissipated, their dharma treasures fell, and their attacks instantly disintegrated. Just as Sound Domain's secret technique was able to repel hundreds of true demons, such means. Chiu Siluo could not help but exclaim. Originally, they thought that personally witnessing the incomparable battle between an unmatched true immortal and unmatched true devil was already shocking enough, unforgettable. Who would have thought that the scene from before would have once again dealt a huge blow to their hearts? This kind of method had already exceeded their knowledge and imagination. Until now, the two of them still hadn't realized that what they saw was only the tip of the iceberg of Wu Dao's true body. Just as Wu Dao's main body released the myriad spirit voice, the second heavenly tribulation descended. Out of the millions of demons, less than 300 managed to survive the first round of the heavenly tribulation. Now that the second heavenly tribulation had descended, the remaining demonic cultivators were completely unable to withstand it. Amidst a wave of hysterical screams, they were reduced to ashes. Many of the true demons present could only watch on helplessly as this scene unfolded before their very eyes. To Wu Dao's true body, Yanzhe, and the others, this second heavenly tribulation posed no threat at all. In fact, they didn't even need to pay attention to it. While Yanzhe was the first to recover from his shock. The huge chain was like a python, instantly coiling around Wu Dao's body a few times before suddenly tightening. The countless sharp barbs on the chain wanted to pierce through the flesh of the martial Dao true body and lock it up. But no matter how much strength Yanzue exerted, these barbs were unable to pierce through the skin of Wu Dao's true body. In fact, there was even an ear-piercing sound of metal rubbing against stone. Wu Dao's face, covered by the silver mask, flashed a trace of mockery. Fairy Zai waved the Xian Yin mother-child banner, and the numerous ghost babies and ferocious female ghosts on the banner broke free and rushed toward Wu Dao's true body. But the moment these ghost babies and ferocious female ghosts arrived in front of Wu Dao's true body, they seemed to be greatly frightened and retreated, not daring to move forward. No matter how Fairy Zai activated her secret technique, the ghost babies and ferocious female ghosts could only hover around Wu Dao's true body, not daring to make a move. They didn't even dare to touch the corner of Wu Dao's true body's clothes. It should be known that Wu Dao's true body had already begun to control the Avicii Hell with the help of the prison-suppressing cauldron. But the Avicii Hell only suppressed lonely souls and ferocious ghosts. Moreover, the ferocious ghosts in the Avicii Hell were much stronger than the ghost babies refined by Fairy Zai's evil technique. Moreover, Wu Dao's true body had just returned from the Avicii Hell, exuding a gloomy and terrifying aura. Moreover, he controlled the hellfire, so these ghost-like evil beings didn't dare to get close to him. Fairy Zai was furious and activated the Xian Yin mother-child banner even more fiercely. But the ghost babies and ferocious female ghosts still didn't dare to move forward. Instead, they kept turning their heads back and wailing at Fairy Zai. Shrill cries. Evil magic treasures like the Xian Yin mother-child banner, if successfully refined, were extremely powerful. But if they were not controlled well, there was also the danger of backlash. Now, Fairy Zai's pressure was so great that the weapon spirit of the Xian Yin mother-child banner didn't dare to attack Wu Dao's true body. It was already showing signs of rebellion. A sharp black saber slashed down, carrying with it a suffocating aura of death. It was a demonic saber. On the True Demon leaderboard, only one person used a saber, and that was Lipatian. Among the true demons of the demonic zone, only Lipatian dared to use the title of demonic saber. All of his Dao techniques were gathered in this demonic saber. Now, seeing Wu Dao's true body bound by Yan Zui's chains, he knew that this saber would definitely kill him. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, a series of cracking sounds came from the body of the martial Dao body. Then, Wu Dao's true body struggled with his arms, and the thick chains wrapped around his body broke into several pieces and scattered in the air. Yan Zui's pupils contracted slightly. Although his dragon-subduing chain wasn't a pure Yang spirit treasure, it was still a 7th tribulation spirit treasure and was indestructible. He didn't expect someone to be able to break it with their flesh and blood. How much explosive power did that require? Even if he was a true immortal, he wouldn't be able to do that with his bare hands. Wu Dao's true body suddenly reached out and grabbed the demonic saber. Li Potion's expression changed drastically. His demonic saber had clearly hit the palm of Wu Dao's true body, but it had met with great resistance and only left a bloody mark on his palm. How was that possible? Not only Lipatian, but even Yan Zui and the others were shocked. The demonic saber in Li Potion's hand was a 9th tribulation pure Yang spirit treasure. But now, it had only left a superficial wound on his opponent's palm, which was almost negligible. What kind of physique was this to withstand a pure Yang spirit treasure with his flesh and blood? Wu Dao's true body's eyes shone brightly. He suddenly exerted his strength and grabbed the saber with his palm, pulling it hard. Lipatian couldn't resist the power of Wu Dao's true body at all, and he refused to let go of the demonic saber. He staggered and rushed toward Wu Dao's true body. Wu Dao's true body released his palm and clenched it into a fist. He raised his hand and punched. Lipatian had faced countless strong enemies since he started cultivating, and he had even fought with the true demon Yan Zui. But he had never seen such a terrifying and suffocating punch. End of chapter. Chapter 2374. This punch seemed to have sucked away all the heaven-earth yuan qi in the surroundings. The space around Lipatian was suppressed to the extreme. This punch was clearly coming at him, but he felt that he had no way to retreat and could only take it head-on. Lipatian didn't have time to think and held his saber horizontally in front of his chest. Just as he finished this action, Wu Dao's fist landed on the demonic saber. Bang! There was a loud bang. Even though there was a pure Yang spirit treasure between them, Lipatian could still feel the terrifying power from the demonic saber. It was majestic and unstoppable. Li Potion's body shook violently and he spat out blood. His eyes dimmed and his life force plummeted. The next moment, a series of crackling sounds came from his body. All his bones had been shattered by the martial path true body's punch. Even his primordial spirit didn't have a chance to escape and died on the spot. Lipatian fell on his back, and when he fell to the ground, he was smashed into a bloody pulp and lost his human form. Li Padian, who was ranked 7th on the True Demon leaderboard, was killed by Wu Dao's fist through the demonic saber. The demons were in an uproar and their faces were full of shock. Even the experts on the True Demon leaderboard couldn't take a punch from the patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect, who dared to rush forward. Let alone the remaining 300 or so True Demons. Even Yanzei and Fairy Zai's eyes flashed with deep fear as thoughts of retreating flashed through their minds. At this moment, the demonic dragon also saw the scene just now. However, he had already rushed to Wu Dao's side and was very close. It was too late for him to retreat. Kill! The demonic dragon roared and the clothes on his body were all torn, revealing a body covered in golden scales that flickered with a cold light. Clang, clang, clang. The demonic dragon's hands had completely transformed into divine dragon claws. His joints protruded and he was powerful. The sharp dragon claws seemed to be able to tear everything in the world apart. This pair of ferocious dragon claws grabbed at Wu Dao's body. At the same time, as the demonic dragon's blood chi rose, a golden divine dragon appeared behind him and circled around his body. The gigantic dragon head was raised high and looked down at Wu Dao's body with a dignified gaze. However, the golden divine dragon soon seemed to smell something unusual from Wu Dao's body and a trace of fear and wariness flashed past the depths of its eyes. Bloodline phenomenon. The demonic dragon didn't hold back and released all its strength. The martial Dao body's expression did not change. He did not dodge or even use his blood chi. He still raised his hand and punched. His move was simple and straightforward, without any fancy moves. It was just that with the true martial Dao body, even without using any martial arts techniques, he could still explode with shocking divine power. Not to mention that the martial Dao Highness had continuously refined his Dao and martial arts, turning the complicated into simple ones and merging them into his fists, allowing him to unleash the supreme will of martial arts with every move he made. The fist and claw collided in a defeated manner. Before the demonic dragon's sharp claws could reach, it felt a bone-piercing pain in its palm. Groar! The demonic dragon cried out in pain. A terrifying power surged through his palm and extended to his arm. The golden dragon scales on his arm stood up one after another and were washed off by the sudden surge of power. If not for the protection of the dragon scales to withstand the impact of that power, his arm would have been blown apart by Wu Dao's true chi. Kill! The demonic dragon roared and channeled the bloodline phenomenon behind him frantically, wanting the golden divine dragon to help him deal with Wu Dao's true chi. However, for some reason, his bloodline phenomenon went out of control this time round. The golden divine dragon let out a deep roar towards Wu Dao's true chi as well. However, its aura was weak and it was more like a whimper, not daring to advance. Wu Dao's true chi had once fused his dragon phoenix true body into Wu Dao's furnace and fused with his flesh and blood, becoming indistinguishable. His body emitted the aura of a taboo dragon phoenix and the divine dragon phenomenon did not dare to offend him. Noisy! Wu Dao's true chi hollered and punched a second time. Bang! The demonic dragon could only extend its dragon claws to defend. Swoosh! This time round, the bloodline phenomenon on the demonic dragon dissipated instantly. Inside his body, his chi and blood were also shaken to the point that his internal organs were displaced. All the bones and tendons in his body were creaking as if they would fall apart in the next moment. Before he could catch his breath, a third punch descended. The punch tore through the air and even emitted a shuddering aura of death. The demonic dragon raised his arms and blocked in front of him. At the same time, he channeled his essence spirit wildly and released an essence spirit secret skill to attack Wu Dao's true chi. He was already going all out after being forced to this extent by Wu Dao's true chi. Wu Dao's true chi ignored the essence spirit secret skill of the demonic dragon. A series of ripples appeared on the Mo Luo mask and dispelled the essence spirit secret skill with ease. Wu Dao's true chi was not affected at all. The third punch arrived and exploded. The demonic dragon's gigantic body that was 100 feet tall was shattered by a single punch. A pitch-black beam of light escaped from the shattered body in time. It was the essence spirit of the demonic dragon. The demonic dragon's spirit consciousness stirred and he wanted to revive from a drop of blood. However, there was no reaction when he channeled that peerless divine power. His primordial spirit turned around to take a look, and his face was filled with fear. His body had been blasted into pieces. The pieces of flesh and blood that were scattered all over the place did not show any sign of life, as if they were dead. Wu Dao's true Chi's third punch destroyed all the life force in his body. Snap! A bolt of crimson lightning struck his primordial spirit. The demonic dragon's essence spirit shuddered and gradually turned transparent as his life force weakened. With the protection of his body, the first round of the heavenly tribulation naturally posed no threat to him. However, how could a mere essence spirit resist the lightning of the heavenly tribulation? His life force was extinguished on the spot and his soul scattered. Wu Dao's true Qi attacked consecutively and killed 2 true demons on the true demon ranking in the blink of an eye. He was unstoppable. At this moment, the first round of the heavenly tribulation had just reached the 4th level. The heavenly tribulation of the true one had at least 6 rounds and 9 levels, hence the name 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation. With the increase of each round and level, the power of the heavenly tribulation would naturally increase as well. Retreat first, there's no need to rush. Yan Zi said telepathically, this person is undergoing the tribulation in the midst of a 1,000,000 demon army. The power of the heavenly tribulation will increase exponentially. When he's done, even if he doesn't die, he will be severely injured. At that time, killing him will be as easy as flipping our hands. Fairy Zai nodded and replied, that's right. As the 2 true demons communicated with each other, they retreated at an extremely fast speed. Now that the 1,000,000 demon army had been reduced to ashes, the tribulation cloud above Wu Dao's true Qi was rapidly shrinking and returning to its normal size. With Yan Zi and Fairy Zai's movement techniques, they quickly left the area covered by the tribulation cloud. You want to leave? Wu Dao's true Qi sneered, it's not that easy. He rushed toward Yan Zi and Fairy Zai and said coldly, the 2 of you stay here and accompany me in my tribulation. Yan Zi and Fairy Zai were naturally not foolish enough to stop. At the same time, Yan Zui telepathically said to the 300 or so true demons on the other side, go around and kill the person under the bronze square cauldron and take it away. Chapter 2375. Wu Dao had taken out the prison suppressing cauldron to protect Yan Beichen and the others. On the other hand, he wanted the prison suppressing cauldron to experience the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. After the prison suppressing cauldron was heavily injured, its cultivation level had dropped. Although it had devoured a large number of spiritual treasures and the cracks on the cauldron had healed, it had not recovered to become a true spiritual treasure. This heavenly tribulation was the best opportunity for the prison suppressing cauldron to recover. As the heavenly tribulation descended, the prison suppressing cauldron was bathed in lightning. The 4 saint souls on the 4-sided cauldron, who had lost a lot of energy from the battle and had fallen into a deep slumber, woke up once again. They opened their eyes and were extremely excited. Devouring spiritual treasures was not enough for them to recover to their peak. The heavenly tribulation was the key for them to absorb energy and recover to their peak. The prison suppressing cauldron floated in the air and absorbed the power of the heavenly tribulation. The aura of the 4 saint souls also rose. Yan Beichen and the others were hiding under the prison suppressing cauldron and were not affected by the lightning. They were unharmed. But now, the situation had changed. Wu Dao's main body was chasing after Yan Zi and Zai, while the remaining 300 or so true demons changed their target and charged toward Yan Beichen and the others. Die! Feng Cantion raised the frightened evil spear in his hand and pierced through the chest of a true demon. Before the true demon's primordial spirit could escape, the lightning from the frightened evil spear destroyed his spiritual sea. The true demon's primordial spirit was destroyed and he died on the spot. However, Feng Cantion was heavily injured and was at the end of his rope. He did not have much battle power left. He stood alone in the air, unable to split himself up and stop all of the true demons. Some true demons went around him and charged toward the prison suppressing cauldron. In the blink of an eye, dozens of true demons arrived in front of the prison's suppressing cauldron. One of them sneered, "Ants, die." Just as he finished speaking, his head was smashed into pieces by a punch and he died on the spot. Wu Dao's main body had returned. He could temporarily give up on Yan Beichen and Fairy Zai, but he absolutely could not allow Yan Beichen and the others to come to harm. After Wu Dao's main body descended, he directly pounced into the crowd, charging left and right, completely like a human-shaped killing machine. There wasn't a single true demon that could stop the martial Dao sovereign's footsteps. No matter if it was a secret technique or a magical equipment or a talisman, none of them could withstand a casual punch from Wu Dao himself. As long as Wu Dao's true body made a move, there would be a true devil that would perish. In just a few breaths of time, the dozens of true demons were all killed by Wu Dao's original body near the prison's suppressing cauldron. Not a single one escaped. The remaining true devils who were still fighting with Feng Cantian were so scared that they scattered and hid far away, not daring to go forward. At this moment, the first round of the heavenly tribulation was nearing its end. From beginning to end, Wu Dao's original body did not care about the heavenly tribulation above his head. He only allowed the bolts of lightning to strike his body, and the real Wu Dao's body absorbed all of it. Feng Cantian was the same. The lightning that descended from the heavenly tribulation was extremely harmful to others. But to him, it was a great tonic. After the first round of the heavenly tribulation ended, his injuries actually began to heal. Wu Dao's original body stood near the prison's suppressing cauldron, looking at Yan Zui, Fairy Zai, and the others in the distance, not taking the initiative to attack. In fact, with his methods, if he did not hold back, he could kill all 4 of the true demons on the true demon ranking the moment they met. Karmic fire, hellfire, bloodline phenomenon. If all of these trump cards were released, not many of the hundreds of true demons present would be able to leave alive, including the supreme true demon Yan Zui. Wu Dao's original body did not use these methods, and it was not deliberately hiding them. In fact, to him, the supreme true demon and the others were not considered a threat at all. His true threat was the heavenly tribulation this time. His Dao was different from the cultivation of all living beings in the upper realm. He created his own Dao, created the true martial realm, and created the true Wu Dao body. To be more precise, the heavenly tribulation he was about to face was unprecedented, the unprecedented true martial heavenly tribulation. No one knew how terrifying this heavenly tribulation would be. Moreover, he was going through the tribulation in the midst of a million-strong demon army, so there was an additional element of uncertainty in this tribulation. The power of the heavenly tribulation came from the unknown depths of the upper realm. It was very likely that it came from the greater thousand worlds. Wu Dao's original body did not dare to be careless about this unknown. Because to deal with Yan Zui, Fairy Zai, and the others, he had to use many of his trump cards. If he really encountered any unforeseen circumstances, he would not be able to resist. Wu Dao's original body stood guard around the prison's suppressing cauldron, while Yan Zui, Fairy Zai, and the other true demons did not dare to rashly approach. But no one was willing to leave just like that. Many people had the same idea, which was to wait for Wu Dao's original body to finish his tribulation. Even if he succeeded, the patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect would definitely be extremely weak. Then, it would be the best time for them to strike. Soon, the second round of the heavenly tribulation descended. Yellow lightning constantly fell, heavily smashing onto Wu Dao's original body and Feng Cantian's body. The two of them did not move as they bathed in lightning. The color of the heavenly tribulation became darker and darker. By the time it reached the 9th level, it had already transformed into a golden color, emitting a dazzling golden light that pierced through the heavens and the earth. Its momentum was terrifying. Boom, boom. Even so, Wu Dao's original body and Feng Cantian did not retreat. Wu Dao's original body guided the heavenly tribulation into his body, strengthening the tribulation fire, tempering his physical body, bloodline, bones, and organs, and perfecting the true Wu Dao body. Feng Cantian used the power of lightning to heal his injuries, and at the same time, to comprehend the Dao and Dao contained within the heavenly tribulation lightning. This heavenly tribulation was not only very important to Wu Dao's original body, it was also a huge opportunity for him. Feng Santian's heart skipped a beat as a thought flashed across his mind. Araki Takashi's purpose for coming here was probably not just to deal with the Million Demon Army. With his means, even if he did not borrow the power of the heavenly tribulation, who would be a match for him? With his combat prowess, he was simply invincible and unstoppable as he pushed his way through. The reason why Desolate Marshal came here for the Tribulation Transcendence might be to grant him an opportunity. Feng Kentian looked at the prison-suppressing cauldron not far away. There was still a huge mystery in his heart that he did not have the chance to solve at the moment. Logically speaking, this ancient emperor weapon should be in the hands of Su Zimo of the Divine Firmament Immortal Realm. How could it be in the hands of Araki Takashi? Moreover, he recalled something. The name Araki Takashi seemed to have been mentioned by Su Zimo once in the 10 Extreme Prison. Feng Kentian even wondered if the Araki Takashi in front of him was Su Zimo. However, he thought about it again and quickly rejected this speculation. First of all, their means, Dao arts, temperaments, everything was vastly different from one another. Secondly, when they parted, Su Zimo had just become an earth immortal. It was impossible for Su Zimo to cultivate to such a level in a few thousand years, or even be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. I hope it's not Araki Takashi who snatched the prison-suppressing cauldron from Su Zimo. Feng Kentian thought to himself. Chapter 2376. The second round of tribulation clouds had just ended, and the lightning had already changed color. The third round of azure lightning descended, piercing through the heavens and earth. It was even more powerful and shocking. Wu Dao's original body, who was enduring the tribulation, was still standing in the air. He was bathing in the lightning and using it to temper his body. Wu Dao's original body's tribulation seemed simple, but Gu Tongyu and the others hiding under the prison-suppressing cauldron knew how terrifying the tribulation was. Bolts of lightning struck the prison-suppressing cauldron one after another, bursting with dazzling light. Lightning arcs danced in the air. If it weren't for the prison-suppressing cauldron, they would have been reduced to ashes. Who is this person? He's going through the heavenly tribulation of Truth One without using any Dharma spells. He's just enduring it with his body and bloodline? This person's body is too strong, and his explosive power is too fierce. Even demonic blade Li Patin was killed with one punch. The remaining 200 or so true demons hiding outside the range of the tribulation looked at this scene and discussed with fear. Brother Yen, can you see this person's Dharma inheritance and bloodline? Fairy Zai frowned and asked. Yen Zue's face was gloomy, and he didn't say a word. Fairy Zai said, as far as I know, only a few races like dragons and Protoss who are born with the strongest body and bloodline will choose to go through the tribulation with their body. Yen Zue snorted. Don't worry. I want to see how long he can last. Even dragons and Protoss have to take out Dharma treasures and use many Dharma treasures and Dharma spells to resist the tribulation. I don't believe that this person can survive the 9 heavenly tribulation with his body alone. Not long after, the third round of the tribulation ended. Immediately after, blue lightning flashed in the tribulation clouds and gathered above Wu Dao's and Feng Santian's heads to form a sea of blue lightning. This wave of energy poured down like the Milky Way with a frightening momentum. It instantly submerged Wu Dao's original body and Feng Santian's figures. After a while, when the sea of lightning receded, Wu Dao and Feng Santian's figures reappeared. The two of them were still standing in midair, and their auras had become even more powerful. Rumble! The fifth round of heavenly tribulation descended. Purple lightning carried with it boundless might as it descended from the heavens, continuously smashing onto Wu Dao's body. Every time it landed, an earth-shattering boom would be heard. During the entire process, Wu Dao's main body didn't even move a finger. Soon, the fifth round of heavenly tribulation ended. The sixth round of heavenly tribulation was ready to begin. The gray thunder gave birth to a deathly aura, as if it could annihilate all life. Boom, boom, boom. Streaks of gray lightning fell from the sky and struck Wu Dao's body. As the number of strikes increased, the gray thunder became thicker and more shocking. At first, it was only as thick as a human's arm. Later on, it had evolved into a divine pillar wrapped in lightning, continuously smashing down. Wu Dao's main body remained motionless. Looking at this situation, the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation is definitely not the end. There will be more heavenly tribulations later on. With this person's methods, I wonder how many rounds of heavenly tribulations he will attract? Could it be the legendary 9 in 9 heavenly tribulation? Hearing about the 9 in 9 heavenly tribulation, the demons were shocked. Someone shouted, "Don't talk nonsense. Those who can attract 9 in 9 heavenly tribulations are all at the level of great emperors. There hasn't been one in a million years." That's right. Yen Zue, as a supreme true demon, only attracted a few heavenly tribulations back then. This person's battle strength seems to be higher than Yen Zue's. Just as everyone was discussing, the 7th round of heavenly tribulation descended. The color of the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation became darker. The previous round of heavenly tribulations was gray. The first round of the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation was black. It was incomparably violent, like a curved black spear descending from the sky. This black lightning seemed to cut heaven and earth in half. This time, Wu Dao's main body finally moved. He raised his head slightly, extended a finger, and pointed at the descending black lightning. Boom! The black lightning collided with Wu Dao's main body's finger, instantly exploding with a deafening sound. Wu Dao's main body did not move at all, and he did not suffer any injuries. Seeing this scene, the corners of Yen Zue's mouth twitched uncontrollably. It was already the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation, but this patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect did not use any magical treasures or abilities. He only extended a finger, and the heavenly tribulation was broken. One had to know that when he fought against the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation, he had used many trump cards, almost reaching the limit of his body. But this Araki Takashi's heavenly tribulation seemed to be too easy. Yen Zue felt a wave of irritation in his heart. But soon he calmed down. This was because he knew that the higher the heavenly tribulation, the more powerful it would be. Not to mention the difference between the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation and the 1 in 9 heavenly tribulation, even the descent of each heavenly tribulation would be several times more powerful. Boom, boom, boom. Wu Dao's main body stood in the air, raised his head slightly, and faced the impact of the heavenly tribulation with a casual wave of his hand, as if he was chasing away mosquitoes. The powerful heavenly tribulation dispersed, casually shattered by Wu Dao's main body, and did not cause any damage to him. A true demon expert was unwilling to believe this scene, and felt that there must be something fishy about this. He made up his mind and decided to go forward and test it out. This person moved, quickly approaching Wu Dao's main body, and in the blink of an eye, he entered the range of the tribulation clouds. A bolt of pitch-black lightning descended, arriving in an instant. So powerful! Only when he was in the midst of it did he truly feel the terror of this heavenly tribulation. This person's expression changed drastically, but fortunately, he was already prepared. He hurriedly took out his spirit treasure and injected his quintessential essence into it to protect his head. At the same time, this person used a mystic technique to attack the heavenly tribulation. Boom! The pitch-black lightning descended, and almost instantly pierced through this person's spirit treasure, destroying his mystic technique. This true demon's body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was penetrated by the pitch-black lightning, revealing a shocking charred hole. Countless destructive lightning bolts swept through his body, and in the blink of an eye, his vitality was extinguished. Fortunately, this person saw that the situation was not good, and his primordial spirit wrapped around his Dao fruit, escaped the range of the tribulation clouds, and narrowly escaped death. Even so, this person's losses were difficult to make up for. His body had been completely destroyed by the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation, and his vitality was severed. He could not even regenerate from a drop of blood. When the demons saw this, they became even more fearful. The demons retreated a distance again, and no one dared to rashly step forward. Not long after, the 7 in 9 heavenly tribulation ended, but the tribulation clouds did not dissipate. The heavenly tribulation was about to descend. Wu Dao's main body took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. Instead of retreating, he advanced, charging towards the descending heavenly tribulation. Wu Dao's main body wanted to face the heavenly tribulation and not passively resist it. Chapter 2377. The group of demons looked at Wu Dao's original body, who had risen to the sky to face the heavenly tribulation. Facing the heavenly tribulation was like challenging the heavens, challenging the unknown will of the source of the heavenly tribulation, challenging the rules of heaven and earth. This was Wu Dao. This was Wu Dao's will. Unyielding, resisting, fighting against heaven and earth, repaying his debts. The 8th round of the heavenly tribulation was no longer dark. Things would change in the opposite direction when they reached an extreme. The extreme black heavenly tribulation had become milky white after being nurtured. Boom! Wu Dao's original body rose to the sky and punched out. It collided with the milky white lightning, causing heaven and earth to shake. The figure of the martial Dao true body shuddered and came to a stop. This was the first time that Wu Dao's original body was affected since the heavenly tribulation. However, it was so slight that it was almost negligible. Wu Dao's original body continued to rise. The 2nd round of the heavenly tribulation descended extremely quickly. It seemed to have sensed Wu Dao's provocation and wanted to strike him down. Wu Dao's original body punched out again and met the heavenly tribulation head-on. Boom! There was a loud explosion. This time, Wu Dao's original body was not affected at all. He directly broke through the lightning and went against the momentum. As if it had sensed Wu Dao's aura, the prison-suppressing cauldron on the other side also shook continuously. There were Sanskrit chants within the cauldron. Outside, there were the roars of dragons, tigers, turtles, and phoenixes. After absorbing the power of the 7 rounds of heavenly tribulation, the aura of the 4 saint souls had obviously broken through the peak of the heaven immortal realm and entered the true self realm. The prison-suppressing cauldron had its own spirituality. It faced the lightning arcs and also went against the momentum, charging towards the sky. At the same time, the prison-suppressing cauldron released rays of light that formed a barrier around Yen Beichen and the others like a waterfall, continuing to protect them. Under everyone's gaze, 1 person and 1 cauldron went against the will of the heavenly tribulation and the momentum of the heavenly tribulation, rising continuously. Boom, boom, boom. The power of the 8 in 9 heavenly tribulation grew stronger and stronger, while the fists of Wu Dao's true body grew fiercer and more unstoppable. When the 9th layer tribulation arrived, Wu Dao's figure had already dashed into the tribulation clouds and attacked continuously, shattering the tribulation clouds into pieces. The group of demons were dumbfounded, their faces full of shock. Even the supreme true demon Yanzai and Fairy Zai, who was ranked 4th on the true demon ranking, were shocked. The way the patriarch of the Heaven Wasteland sect transcended the tribulation was completely beyond their imagination. He actually charged into the tribulation clouds alone, stirred up the sea of lightning, and almost overturned the entire sky. He relied on his flesh and blood to shatter the 89 heavenly tribulations. Amazing! Even Feng Tian couldn't help but praise. He used to be a true immortal of the 9 firmaments immortal realm, but when he reached the true self realm, he only attracted an 8 in 9 heavenly tribulation. The process of him transcending the 89 heavenly tribulations was extremely dangerous. After it ended, he was only left with 1 breath. Fortunately, there were experts protecting him, so he could slowly recover. And this Araki Takashi in front of them had a monstrous aura. He faced the heavenly tribulation head-on, scattered the tribulation clouds, and shattered the lightning. Feng Tian couldn't compare to such an extraordinary method. Yenzui looked up at the sky, silent. No one knew what he was thinking. The group of demons were frightened, and they already had thoughts of retreating. "Brother Yen, let's retreat." Fairy Zai frowned and said, This person finished transcending the tribulation and didn't suffer any injuries at all. His aura is even stronger. Even if we join forces, we can't beat him. Yen Zue shook his head slightly and said, "The heavenly tribulation isn't over yet." Fairy Zai and the others' expressions changed. The 89 heavenly tribulation wasn't over yet meant that there would be a 99 heavenly tribulation. This was the peak of the true self-heavenly tribulation. For millions of years, at least in the heaven realm, no one had heard of anyone who attracted a 99 heavenly tribulation. If there really was a 99 heavenly tribulation, the demons wouldn't be in a hurry to leave. Firstly, the 99 heavenly tribulation was unprecedented. If they could witness it with their own eyes, it would be an opportunity for everyone present. Secondly, the 99 heavenly tribulation was an extreme heavenly tribulation that could destroy everything. Not to mention whether the patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect could survive it. Even if he could, he would definitely be severely injured and fall into an extremely weak state. This was the best time for them to make a move. To be able to attract a 99 heavenly tribulation, he definitely had the potential to become a great emperor. If they could kill such a monster in advance, many people would feel an inexplicable sense of excitement. In the sky, the tribulation clouds that had been scattered by Wu Dao's true body gathered again. They became thicker and denser, exuding an aura that made one's heart tremble. Yen Zue couldn't help but laugh. He said somewhat proudly, "He's really calculated. This person attracted a heavenly tribulation to destroy our million-demon army, but I didn't expect that this would also put him in a dangerous situation where he can't retreat. If this person is killed by the 99 heavenly tribulation, then it's the will of the heavens. If this person is lucky enough to survive the 99 heavenly tribulation, then we'll make a move and send him on his way." But the demons were somewhat excited and shouted in agreement. Feng Santian's expression was serious. He held the frightened evil spear in his hand and looked up at the sky. Even he had never seen a 99 heavenly tribulation before. He didn't know what kind of terrifying power this legendary extreme-grade heavenly tribulation would erupt. Boom! The first wave of the 9th wave of heavenly tribulation descended. Wu Dao's true body clenched his fists to meet the attack. Boom! A figure fell from the sky and rapidly fell to the ground, creating a large crater. Just the first wave of heavenly tribulation was more ferocious and terrifying than all the previous heavenly tribulations combined. It directly smashed Wu Dao's true body down. Wu Dao's true body lightly swung his arms. Since the start of the heavenly tribulation, this was the first time he felt a numbing sensation on his fists and arms, along with a slight burning pain. Boom! The second wave of heavenly tribulation followed closely behind. Wu Dao's true body took a deep breath and used both his fists to meet the heavenly tribulation. Bang! Wu Dao's true body was lowered. His entire body was directly smashed into the ground by the power of the heavenly tribulation. Half of his body was directly smashed into the ground. He could already feel a tightness in his chest and his body felt uncomfortable. Before he could catch his breath, the third wave of heavenly tribulation had already descended. This time round, Wu Dao's true body channeled his blood qi and his aura surged. He broke free from the ground and faced the attack once more. Boom! Wu Dao's true body was smashed down once more. However, the blood qi within his body circulated and emitted an incomparably strong life force. He was still unharmed. However, after the third wave of heavenly tribulation ended, the fourth wave did not descend for a long time. The tribulation clouds in the skies did not disperse as well. "Watch out, bloodline." Right then, Feng Santian's voice sounded. Wu Dao's true body's heart skipped a beat. True enough. Unknowingly, a mysterious and treacherous power had entered his bloodline and destroyed the life force within it continuously. The fourth wave of the 99 heavenly tribulation was the bloodline tribulation. It was completely different from the previous heavenly tribulations. The power of the heavenly tribulation would appear silently within the body of the person undergoing the tribulation. If the person undergoing the tribulation was not careful and did not notice it in time, their bloodline could be exhausted and it would be difficult to recover. Humph! Wu Dao's true body scoffed coldly and channeled his blood qi with all his might. The sound of raging waves crashing against the shore could be heard from his body continuously. His bloodline contained a scorching heat that resembled boiling lava. If he channeled it with all his might, he could smelt everything. The power of the heavenly tribulation did not exist for long in the body of Wu Dao's true body before it was devoured and refined by the bloodline of Wu Dao's true body, cleansing it completely. Chapter 2378. After the bloodline tribulation, there were 2 consecutive heavenly tribulations. Both were silent and formless as they directly descended upon the martial Dao body. The essence spirit tribulation. This was a heavenly tribulation that could ignore the defenses of the Mo Luo mask and appear in one's consciousness bizarrely. Wu Dao's true body reacted extremely quickly and channeled his essence spirit secret skill to defend against it. A moment later, the essence spirit tribulation dissipated. After that was the Dao heart tribulation. That heavenly tribulation affected a cultivator's Dao heart. If one's Dao heart was not firm, they would definitely develop mental demons against the effects of the heavenly tribulation. However, the Dao heart tribulation had no effect on Wu Dao's true body at all. He had once condensed the 10th step of the Dao heart staircase and his Dao heart was indestructible. Even the Dao heart tribulation of the 99 heavenly tribulations could not shake it. After the 3 silent and formless heavenly tribulations ended, the tribulation cloud changed once more. After a brief pause, a spark fell from the middle of the tribulation cloud. Swoosh! When the spark landed on Wu Dao's true body, it ignited a raging fire that spread continuously, forming a pillar of fire that connected the world with raging flames. The 7th heavenly tribulation, the karma tribulation. No matter who or what living being they were, they would be tainted with karma the moment they were born. As time passed by and they grew, they would be tainted with karma as well. There were good and evil causes. However, that heavenly tribulation ignited all the karma on Wu Dao's true body and burned it continuously. Wu Dao's true body stood tall and motionless within the pillar of fire that connected the world, as though he could not feel any pain. That was because the flames were nothing compared to the pain brought about by the hellfire in the hell of Avicii. More importantly, he was extremely familiar with those flames. The only thing in the world that could ignite karma was the karma fire. At the same time that the karma fire burned karma, it tempered one's flesh as well. Right in front of everyone, Wu Dao's true body howled into the skies. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a bottomless abyss that devoured the karma fire that connected the world like a whale swallowing a cow. Wu Dao's true body was surrounded by a series of sinister red lotus flowers that gave off a demonic sense of beauty. Wu Dao's original body stepped on the red lotus of hellfire, and his figure continued to rise. The 7th tribulation of the 9th tribulation also shook Wu Dao's true body. The group of demons were shaken by this scene, and their faces were filled with shock. Even Feng Cantian, who was at the side, was affected by the karma calamity. He was almost burned into black charcoal. He was in an extremely sorry state. His skin was cracked and blood flowed out. He fell onto the ground, forming red lotuses. The 7th tribulation ended, and the 8th tribulation descended. Clang, clang, clang. Bush, bush. In the dense tribulation clouds, many different divine weapons descended and charged towards Wu Dao, Feng Cantian, and the prison's suppressing cauldron. Saber tribulation. There were all kinds of divine weapons and magic treasures, sabers, spears, swords, halberds, axes, hooks, tridents. There were also large cauldrons, ancient bells, bronze furnaces. There were also many other strange weapons such as horsetail whisks, treasured mirrors, long shuttles. These weapons were manifested by the power of the heavenly tribulation and their might had already reached the level of a 9th tribulation pure yang numinous treasure. They were as dense as rain, blanketing the skies and earth. Ha, good! Feng Cantian roared with laughter and waved the evil terror spear, soaring into the skies with a heroic spirit. The easiest way to withstand the saber tribulation was naturally to use divine weapons and dharma treasures like Feng Cantian. However, at that moment, The prison-suppressing cauldron was still guarding above Yen Beichen and the others and could not leave. Wu Dao's true body faced the pure Yang Dharma treasures that blotted out the skies and faced them head-on without dodging. Boom, boom, boom. Wu Dao's true body waved his fists and attacked repeatedly. Relying on his physical body, he clashed head-on with the descending pure Yang Dharma treasures, causing a series of deafening explosions. The group of demons felt their teeth ache. Although those pure Yang numinous treasures were not corporeal, they were still formed by the power of the heavenly tribulation. To think that this person's physical body could withstand them head-on. Of course, under the continuous confrontation, Wu Dao's true body's fists were stained with blood and there were wounds on his body as well. However, those injuries were negligible to Wu Dao's true body. In the blink of an eye, they would heal. Finally, the divine weapons in the sky gradually decreased in number and finally dissipated. The saber tribulation was over. The last tribulation of the 99 heavenly tribulations was left. In the distance, Fairy Zai's expression was grave as she shook her head and said, "Brother Yen, let's retreat. From the looks of it, even the last tribulation won't be able to do much damage to him." "It won't." Yen Zue's expression was calm as he said, "The last tribulation won't be so easy to withstand. Even if he can withstand it, he will lose half his life." "Brother Yen, are you that confident?" Fairy Zai frowned and asked. Yen Zue did not answer and instead asked, "Do you know what the last tribulation of the 99 heavenly tribulations is?" Fairy Zai said, "I don't know. Please enlighten me." "The last tribulation is the divine power tribulation," Yen Zue said lightly. Fairy Zai still did not understand. She said, "This person has not used any divine power tribulation so far. Even if it is the divine power tribulation, I'm afraid it will be useless." Yen Zue laughed and asked again, "Do you know how the first supreme divine powers of the 3,000 realms were passed down?" "I don't know." Fairy Zai shook her head and asked tentatively, "Were there people with extraordinary talent who created them and then passed them down?" "Impossible." Yen Zue said, "Supreme divine powers touch on the core of the Tao. Comprehending a supreme divine power is as difficult as ascending to the heavens, let alone creating one." This was not an exaggeration. Yen Zue was known as a supreme true demon and had the opportunity to come into contact with supreme divine powers, but he had not fully comprehended them. Unable to create one? Fairy Zai's heart skipped a beat. She understood what Yen Zue was implying and said, "You mean the last tribulation of the 99 heavenly tribulations is a supreme divine power?" "That's right." Yen Zue nodded and said, "Supreme divine powers are extremely rare. The ones that have been passed down until now are all passed down from the last tribulation of the 99 heavenly tribulations." Not only Fairy Zai, but the demons were also shocked when they heard this. Supreme divine powers were the pinnacle of divine powers. It was no exaggeration to say that if a true immortal could comprehend a supreme divine power, he could be invincible in the true One realm and obtain the title of Supreme True Immortal. He could even go one step further and become the number one true immortal in the heaven realm. Yen Zue said, "So, no matter what, we have to stay here and watch him pass through this last tribulation. Not everyone has the opportunity to see a supreme divine power. This is also a great opportunity for us. When this supreme divine power descends, how much you can comprehend will depend on your own luck." Fairy Zai asked, "What kind of supreme divine power will descend this time?" "That's not clear." Yen Zue shook his head slightly and said, "There are not many supreme divine powers since ancient times. I know that there are eternal darkness, space-time imprisonment, 6 paths of reincarnation, and so on. It's possible to descend any one of them, or perhaps a supreme divine power that has never appeared before." Chapter 2379. After the 8th heavenly tribulation ended, the 9th heavenly tribulation did not appear for a long time. The tribulation clouds above the firmaments had yet to disperse, as though they were accumulating their final strength and could burst forth at any moment. Fellow Taoist, this is the final tribulation and a supreme divine power should descend. You must not be careless. Feng Cantillon reminded, don't forget to comprehend the profoundness within while resisting it. Wu Dao's true body and Feng Cantillon, who were in the midst of the descent of the supreme divine power, would naturally comprehend more than the spectators. Supreme divine power. The eyes of Wu Dao's true body shone brightly. He relied on his true Wu Dao body and rarely used any divine powers or secret skills in battle. As long as he pushed his way through, no one could stop him. Even though he obtained many divine powers and secret skills, Wu Dao's true body rarely cultivated them and merely fused them into the Wu Dao furnace to extract their essence. However, supreme divine powers were different. If he could comprehend a supreme divine ability, his battle prowess would increase tremendously. The might of the tribulation clouds intensified. Finally, the power of the tribulation clouds was accumulated to its peak and burst forth suddenly. Lightning descended and formed a tsunami that surged over. There were all sorts of powers of heavenly tribulations mixed within the lightning tsunami. Some were balls of flames, some were howling hurricanes, some were divine weapons. There were also many heavenly tribulations that transformed into all sorts of runes that descended in a dense cluster. There were as many as 81 heavenly tribulations. There were also the formation, stability, nirvana, and void tribulations. Every single tribulation contained 20 minor tribulations. There was the fire, water, wind, and weapon tribulations. There was the augmentation, reduction, wood tribulations, sand tribulations, dust tribulations, stone tribulations. There was the void tribulations, enlightenment tribulations, fortitude tribulations, wonder tribulations, sage tribulations, constellation tribulations. There were the 3 calamities and 10 evil tribulations. In the vision of Wu Dao's true body, there were thousands of heavenly tribulations surging over. Every single heavenly tribulation was different. The power contained within every single heavenly tribulation was incomparably terrifying. Most of these heavenly tribulations and runes transformed from heavenly tribulations were something Wu Dao's true body had never seen or even heard of before. Supreme divine power, eternal damnation. Feng Cantillon's heart trembled as he exclaimed, "Haha." On the other side, Yan Zue could not help but laugh when he saw that. The heavens are truly on my side. To think that he's doomed. Desolate Marshal will definitely die today. Is this supreme sacred art really that powerful? Fairy's eye. Yan Zue smiled and said, first of all, if all heavenly tribulations were to descend at the same time, even the person undergoing the tribulation would not be able to comprehend this supreme ability. Because only by comprehending all the tribulations can one unleash this supreme technique. But in heavenly tribulations, to myriad tribulations, heavenly tribulation, and give to heavenly tribulation, and end to, and an N. Yan Zue continued, secondly, in this supreme divine power, the word eternal damnation means that it cannot be recovered. Even if Araki Takashi can survive, as long as he is injured by the myriad tribulation, his injuries will never recover. The group of demons sucked in a breath of cold air. Yan Zue chuckled. Of course, if he can break through to the Grotto Heaven realm and open up a Grotto Heaven, he will naturally be able to resolve the power of the myriad tribulation. Yan Zue did not continue, but everyone knew that it was impossible. Araki Takashi had just transcended heavenly tribulation. If he wanted to step into the Grotto Heaven realm, who knew how long he would have to cultivate? If he dragged his injured body along, let alone step into the Grotto Heaven realm, it was unknown if his cultivation could improve at all. Just as Yan Zue and the others were discussing, the myriad tribulation descended. Looking at the densely packed runes above his head, Wu Dao's true body's eyes shone brightly as he pushed his blood qi to the limit. In an instant, his body seemed to have disappeared. In its place was a huge furnace burning with raging flames. Wu Dao's true body's bloodline anomaly, the heaven and earth furnace. Back then, he had not stepped into the true martial realm, so he could not fully unleash the power of the heaven and earth furnace. Therefore, he could only kill demonic cultivators at the true martial realm. But now Wu Dao's true body had taken a step forward and created the true Wu Dao body, causing the power of his bloodline to skyrocket. The power of this bloodline anomaly had also risen to a huge level, and it had completely transformed into a supreme theurgy. Since the last heavenly tribulation had sent down a supreme theurgy, Wu Dao's true body would use the supreme theurgy he had created to resist it. Yan Zui was right. In such a short time, it was impossible for him to comprehend all of the myriad tribulation bolts. However, he could use the heaven and earth furnace to refine and absorb all of the heavenly tribulation bolts. When he went into seclusion, he could slowly comprehend the mysteries within. Heaven and earth are the furnace, creation is the workmanship, yin and yang are the charcoal, and all things are the copper. Wu Dao's true body's voice rang out from within the heaven and earth furnace. Under everyone's gaze, the myriad tribulation bolts poured into the heaven and earth furnace. 5 flames rose around the heaven and earth furnace. Martial spirit fire, dragon phoenix flame, calamity fire, red lotus karmic fire, and hellfire. With the support of the 5 flames, the heaven and earth furnace's power skyrocketed. The entire furnace was burned red and almost transparent. Myriad tribulation runes could be vaguely seen inside, colliding with each other, but there was nowhere for them to hide. This wasn't just Wu Dao's true body undergoing the heavenly tribulation. This was also a confrontation between 2 supreme theurgies. After a while, the myriad tribulation runes couldn't break free and suddenly condensed together, finally transforming into a scarlet light. Clang. This scarlet light heavily slashed onto the heaven and earth furnace, causing it to shake violently. The light dissipated, and Wu Dao's true body's figure appeared. The 99 heavenly tribulation had finally ended. Wu Dao's true body had used the heaven and earth furnace to absorb and refine eternally doomed to perfection, and now only needed to go into seclusion to comprehend it. On the other side, Feng Santian's situation was much more dangerous. After all, he had continuously fought with Yan Zui and the others and was heavily injured. Although he had undergone the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, his injuries hadn't healed, and his battle strength hadn't recovered to its peak. Blocking the tens of thousands of tribulation talismans was already too much for him to handle. In the end, the myriad tribulation runes turned into a scarlet light that slashed towards Feng Cantion. Feng Cantion used the frightening evil spear to meet it head-on, but his strength was still insufficient, and the spear slipped out of his hand. The crimson light pierced straight through Feng Santian's chest and left a bowl-sized hole in it. Poof! A fountain of blood spurted out. Normally, this kind of injury wasn't much to a true immortal. But no matter how Feng Cantion urged his primordial spirit, the hole in his chest couldn't heal, and blood kept flowing out. The myriad tribulations included heavenly tribulation, heart demon tribulation, weapon tribulation, formation tribulation, steadfast tribulation, bad tribulation, void tribulation. So many tribulations, so many different powers, all stopped at Feng Santian's wound, so how could it heal? This was the terrifying part of eternally doomed. Although he had barely withstood it, as long as he suffered any injuries, it couldn't be healed. Chapter 2380. Brother Yen, let's go. Seeing this scene, Fairy Zai hurriedly reminded, even the 99 heavenly tribulations can't hurt this person. We're definitely not his match. If we don't leave now, I'm afraid something bad will happen. That's right. I'm afraid only a half-step grotto heaven expert can kill this person. Another true demon said. Although the demons had never seen a prodigy who could attract 99 heavenly tribulations, they had heard of them in legends and ancient books. However, this was the first time they had seen a prodigy who was almost unscathed after the 99 heavenly tribulations. This was beyond their understanding. Who was this person to be able to withstand even a supreme divine power? The demons had no desire to continue fighting and wanted to leave as soon as possible. Yan Zui's expression was ugly. This time, he had gathered 18 demon armies and millions of cultivators, but this patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect had appeared out of nowhere and attracted a heavenly tribulation and turned them into ashes. He was unwilling, But he had to admit that if he continued to stay here, he would most likely be killed by this Araki Takashi. Yen Zue took a deep breath, gritted his teeth, and prepared to leave. Suddenly, Yen Zue's expression changed as he raised his head to look at the distant sky, a look of bewilderment on his face. Could it be? A thought flashed through Yen Zue's mind, and he was shocked. On the other side, Wu Dao's main body saw that Feng Cantillon was injured by the last heavenly tribulation and couldn't help but show a trace of worry. He asked, "Senior, I'm fine." Feng Cantillon looked down at the bloody hole in his chest and didn't seem to care. On the contrary, a trace of excitement appeared in his eyes. One had to know that when he first entered the True Self realm, he had only gone through one heavenly tribulation. Now, using the opportunity of Wu Dao's main body's heavenly tribulation, he had personally experienced the legendary 99 heavenly tribulations, which had greatly improved his Dao. Because there were too many heavenly tribulations, he couldn't comprehend all of them. However, using this opportunity, he felt the power of the heavenly tribulation and the fury of lightning. His understanding of the Tao of lightning became more thorough. Feng Cantillon had been ambushed hundreds of thousands of years ago when he was trying to break through to the Grotto Heaven realm, causing his Tao fruit to be destroyed. In his sea of consciousness, the Tao fruit had already disappeared and was replaced by a sea of lightning. Breaking through to the Grotto Heaven realm was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. He had failed once and lost his Tao fruit. It would be even more difficult for him to attempt to break through to the Paradise realm again with the help of the Ocean of Lightning. It could be said that if he cultivated normally, it would be almost impossible for him to enter the Grotto Heaven realm. But after withstanding the 99 heavenly tribulations this time, his comprehension of the Tao of Thunder had deepened, allowing him to see the threshold of the Grotto Heaven realm once more. The might of the heavenly tribulation, the fury of thunder. Feng Canton muttered softly. Even though his body was damaged and the bloody hole in his chest was a ghastly sight, within his sea of consciousness, the sea of lightning was roiling and surging, and it was nurturing a shocking force. When Wu Dao's main body saw this, he secretly nodded. After this tribulation, not only did Xiao Chen's true Wu Dao body rise to another level, but Feng Cantillon also gained a lot. Could be said to be perfect. After the baptism of the 99 heavenly tribulations, the 4 saint souls of the suppressing hell cauldron had reached the peak of the Dao Qi first stage, and their auras were powerful. At this moment, a terrifying aura descended from the sky once more. Even Yen Beichen and the rest, who were below the suppressing hell cauldron, felt their hearts skip a beat. What's going on? Isn't the 99 heavenly tribulations over? Why haven't the tribulation clouds in the sky dispersed? Could it be that the 99 heavenly tribulations are not the end? That's impossible. The suppressing hell cauldron seemed to have sensed some danger as it trembled slightly. The 4 saint souls were also warning Wu Dao's main body. Even Feng Cantillon, who was comprehending the Tao, was awakened by the aura. He looked up with a serious expression and held the frightening evil spear in his hand again. "Araki Takashi, be careful. The heavens and earth are changing," Feng Cantillon warned. Wu Dao's main body narrowed his eyes as he sensed the terrifying aura from the tribulation clouds in the sky. He was on guard. The heavenly tribulation was not over. Above the 99 heavenly tribulations, there was still the 10th tribulation. Wu Dao's main body had a premonition that the 10th tribulation was caused by the real Wu Dao's main body. His existence was an anomaly, and the 10th tribulation's existence was to exterminate the anomaly. Wu Dao's main body said in a low voice, "Senior, you're injured. Go hide under the suppressing hell cauldron for a while." "It's okay. This injury is nothing." Feng Cantillon held the frightening evil spear tightly and said loudly, "I want to see what the 10th tribulation is all about." Boom! A loud sound came from the tribulation clouds. There was no tribulation, no sea of lightning. There was only an illusory figure that descended. Its entire body was formed by lightning and surrounded by dazzling lightning. Although it was only an illusory figure, it was lifelike. It was a woman in black. She had a beautiful face and a cold temperament. Her black hair flowed down like water and fell to her waist. The woman held something like a tortoise shell in her left hand and a horsetail whisk in her right hand. The jade handle was white and looked very familiar. Wu Dao's main body's heart skipped a beat. Tai horsetail whisk? Dharma treasures like horsetail whisks generally looked similar and there was not much difference. However, the horsetail whisk before him was exactly the same as the Tai horsetail whisk obtained by Qinglian's main body. Be it the size or length, the details on the jade handle of the horsetail whisk were exactly the same. At the same time, Qinglian's main body sensed it and channeled the spirit potency art. Through the eyes of Wu Dao's main body, she looked at the woman in midair. Boom! Another thunderous sound came from the tribulation clouds. Another woman appeared in midair. This woman's appearance was not inferior to the former. Her skin was fair and her brows were like smoke. Her white robes accentuated her perfect figure. She was just standing there without moving, but her entire body was exuding an indescribable charm, causing people to involuntarily admire her. In the air, the woman was holding an autumn water longsword in her hand. As soon as she appeared, she attracted countless gazes. Far away, the fiends were infatuated when they saw the woman's figure and knelt on the ground one after another. It was as though as long as the woman gave the order, all the fiends would commit suicide on the spot without hesitation. Only Yanzai and Fairy Zai were able to compose themselves and stabilize their Dao hearts. The two lightning phantoms revealed two women. One was cold and dignified while the other was beautiful and seductive. Both of them had their own merits and were peerless in their own right. For some reason, when he saw the latter woman, Wu Dao's main body could not help but think of an old friend. The aura of that old friend was rather similar to the white-robed woman behind her. Both of them were innately seductive and could topple the world. Although they were two women, Wu Dao's main body did not dare to be careless. That was because the auras emitted by the two women were way too terrifying. Even against Emperor Lord Bo Sun, Wu Dao's main body did not feel such pressure. It was omnipresent and impossible to resist. The two women were even more terrifying than the supreme divine power, eternal damnation. Chapter 2381. The black-clothed woman gently waved the horsetail whisk in her hand. 3,000 strands of whisk tied up and pierced towards Wu Dao's true body like a spear. This time, it burst forth with an extremely ferocious power, seemingly unshakable. Qinglian's true body was far away in Heaven and Earth Academy. Through the eyes of Wu Dao's true body, she saw this scene but felt a different situation. The black-clothed woman's move of waving the horsetail whisk looked simple, but it seemed to contain a deep level of profundity that was incomparably exquisite. Wu Dao's true body was naturally fearless facing the black-clothed woman's attack. He did not dodge or evade. He stepped forward and raised his hand to punch. Boom! The 3,000 strands of whisk collided with Wu Dao's true body's fist, erupting with a loud bang. Wu Dao's true body shuddered all over. A smear of blood appeared on his fist. The spear formed by the 3,000 strands of whisk could actually cut open the flesh of the true Wu Dao's body, making him see blood. And the black-clothed woman actually did not retreat half a step after taking a head-on blow from him. That seemingly slender and delicate body seemed to be hiding an endless amount of power. All right. Wu Dao's true body nodded slightly and said, "I want to see how many more punches you can take from me." He was about to step forward when he suddenly thought of something and his heart skipped a beat. This black-clothed woman's combat strength was so terrifying. Her strength was not weaker than his. Presumably, that white-clothed woman holding a long sword would not be too weak either. This way, the heavily injured Feng Cantillon was absolutely not the white-clothed woman's match. At the same time, Feng Cantillon and the white-clothed woman had already exchanged blows. The white-clothed woman danced with her long sword, creating a series of sword shadows. Her graceful figure floated in the sword shadows, enchanting and charming, graceful and graceful. Facing this sword technique, Feng Cantillon actually had a feeling of not knowing where to start. If he made a move, it seemed like he would instantly break this beautiful scene before him. Careful! Suddenly he heard Wu Dao's true body's warning voice. There was no time to think too much. Feng Kentian subconsciously raised the frightened evil spear. A wisp of sword light flashed and disappeared in a flash. Clang. The frightened evil spear seemed to have collided with the long sword. Following that, more than a dozen wounds appeared on Feng Santian's body, with blood gushing out like a fountain. Pooh! Feng Kentian spat out a mouthful of blood. He could no longer support himself and fell on his back. Wu Dao's real body suddenly appeared. He flipped his hand and punched the side of the white-clothed woman's sword. Using this force, his body swayed and he arrived beside the suppressing hell cauldron, sending Feng Kentian into the cauldron. Feng Kentian was unable to fight anymore. If Wu Dao's original body had not appeared, the white-clothed woman's second sword could have taken Feng Santian's life. Be careful! Feng Kentian knew that he couldn't help much and could only warn them. Wu Dao nodded slightly, turned around, and rushed towards the two women. Boom! Wu Dao's main body rushed towards the black-clothed woman and punched out. It was as if a volcano was erupting, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to split apart. It erupted with an incomparably tyrannical strength. The black-clothed woman's expression was indifferent as she continued to raise her horsetail whisk. But this time, the 3,000 strands of whiskers became extremely soft and gentle, constantly binding and restricting Wu Dao's true body. Before it could even touch the black-clothed woman, the ferocious power of the punch had already been resolved. In the hands of the black-clothed woman, the tiny horsetail whisk was a combination of hardness and gentleness. Each time she attacked, it seemed ordinary but it contained endless Dao arts. Each time the distance between them closed, the black-clothed woman would move gracefully and a mysterious pattern that resembled a chessboard would appear beneath her feet. With every step the black-clothed woman took, she would step on a special position and instantly widen the distance between them, using the horsetail whisk to whip Wu Dao's true body. Wu Dao's true body attacked continuously but could not get close. On the contrary, his body was lacerated by the horsetail whisk one after another. On the other side, the white-clothed woman wielded her sword and posed a great threat to Wu Dao's true body as well. As time passed by, Wu Dao's true body gradually fell into a disadvantage against the combined attacks of the two women. At this moment, the tribulation clouds changed, and another phantom appeared. The phantom was not human. Instead, it was an old ape that was 30 feet tall. Its arms were extremely long and almost reached its knees. Its hair and beard were white, but its eyes shone with a strange sanguine glint. Monkey! When Wu Dao's true body caught sight of the old ape, his heart skipped a beat. The old ape seemed to have a similar bloodline to monkey and belonged to a separate lineage of the ape and monkey race. After the old ape appeared, it wielded a shimmering golden rod as well. Roar! The old ape roared at Wu Dao's true body and his blood chi burst forth. Wielding the rod, he swept it towards Wu Dao's true body. Bang! Wu Dao's true body punched out and took it head-on. When the fist and rod collided, Wu Dao's true body did not budge. Instead, the old ape took half a step back. Oh! The old ape was enraged and the blood glint in its eyes intensified. As though it had entered a berserk state, it swung the rod down once more. Wu Dao's true body punched out once more. Bang! This time round, neither party retreated half a step. Wu Dao's true body shuddered. Indeed, the old ape's strength increased tremendously after it entered a berserk state. The old ape roared once more and swung the rod over once more. Bang! This time round, Wu Dao's true body retreated repeatedly with a look of shock in his eyes. The old ape's attacks were more ferocious and terrifying each time. Even he found it difficult to withstand them. Roar! The old ape struck once more and tore through the air with his rod. It was too fast. Wu Dao's true body merely felt a phantom flash before his eyes and he raised his arms instinctively. Bang! An unimaginably shocking divine force slammed into his arms and sent him flying. He fell over 100 feet away and slid a deep gully on the ground. Wu Dao's true body felt a sharp pain in his arms. The old ape's rod smashed his arms into a bloody mess and even revealed his bones. If not for the fact that Wu Dao's true body was at lesser mastery and his bones were engraved with Wu Dao's techniques, that rod would have severed his arms. The tribulation clouds changed once more. 2 more phantoms appeared. After one of them descended, the skies darkened. The location of that figure was shrouded in darkness and nothing could be seen clearly except for a blurry shadow. The other figure had blonde hair and blue eyes. He was tall and shone with a bedazzling golden light as streams of golden blood chi rose from his body. He was incomparably handsome. One of the 2 figures seemed to represent darkness while the other represented light. Who are these people? Why are there so many of them? Below the health suppression cauldron, Gu Tongyu had a worried expression. Those phantoms were formed by the interweaving of thunderbolts and were not their true bodies. Even so, the combat strength of those phantoms was way too terrifying. The Patriarch of Heaven Baron sect, a monster incarnate with heaven-defying combat strength who could even withstand supreme divine powers, was forced to his current state by those phantoms. Brother Yen, what's going on? Fairy Zai and the others asked. Any one of those phantoms was enough to send chills down the spines of the fiends. Not to mention, 5 of them had already appeared. The entire world seemed to be unable to withstand the simultaneous appearance of 5 phantoms and was trembling slightly. Yanzi finally smiled and said, I don't know who they are either. I only know one thing. The heavens want to destroy him. This is the will of the heavens. The will of the heavens cannot be defied. Chapter 2382. The Demonic Zone's Central Plains. Aside from the mystic and earth-level sects fighting for resources and territories, there were also some sky-level sects in this area. To be able to reach the sky level meant that there was a Grotto Heaven Realm powerhouse in the sect, which was the Demon King. The area where Zephyr Thunder Palace was located was under the jurisdiction of the Black Demon Sect. Unlike the 9 Firmaments Immortal Domain, the Black Demon Sect would not interfere no matter how many sects fought each other. Even if a sect was destroyed. As the Patriarch of the Black Demon Sect and the Demon King of his generation, the Dark Sky Demon God had seen the rise and fall of too many sects and forces and was already used to it. The way he saw it, only through endless slaughter and battles could he nurture a true heaven's favorite and use them for his own benefit. As long as these sects and forces were under his control, he would not interfere. But on this day, he suddenly felt a strange energy fluctuation coming from afar. It was extremely unusual. Zhong Yen. The Dark Heavens Demon God suddenly spoke. Your subordinate is here. A middle-aged man in black armor quickly walked over from below the hall. He had a cold expression and knelt before the Dark Sky Demon God. What happened over there? The Dark Sky Demon God's consciousness moved, and a map of the demonic zone's central plains appeared in the air. He pointed at an area and asked, That's the location of Zephyr Thunder Palace. Zhong Yen pondered and said, In the past few days, Yen Zue and the others have gathered 18 demonic armies and millions of demonic cultivators to attack Zephyr Thunder Palace. They haven't taken it down yet? The Dark Sky Demon God frowned. I'm not sure. Zhong Yen said, I heard that Feng Canton has some tricks up his sleeves. He was once a true immortal of the 9 Firmaments Immortal Domain and was no weaker than Yen Zue. However, Yen Zue has the help of Fairy Zai and the others. It won't be a problem to destroy Zephyr Thunder Palace. The Dark Sky Demon God shook his head and said, No, an extremely powerful energy fluctuation suddenly appeared over there. Something might have happened. Could it be that Yen Zue broke through and stepped into the Grotto Heaven Realm? Zhong Yen asked. It's possible. The Dark Sky Demon God nodded and paused for a moment before saying, It's also possible that Feng Canton stepped into the Grotto Heaven Realm. No matter who it is, I have to congratulate the sect master in advance. You have another Demon King under your command, another capable general. Zhong Yen hurriedly congratulated. The Dark Heaven's demonic god tossed out a badge and said, Take my badge and go take a look. No matter who it is that has entered the paradise, tell them to come and greet me. Understood. Zhong Yen bowed and retreated. At the same time, in another heaven-grade organization, Acheron's Villa, A man who was watering and weeding in front of the herb garden sensed something. He exclaimed softly and looked in the direction of the Zephyr Thunder Palace. What's going on? How could it cause such a huge commotion? The man murmured, deep in thought. Shinmo Ridge. A golden-haired, blue-eyed man was sitting in a dazzling palace, resting with his eyes closed. Suddenly, the man seemed to have sensed something. He opened his eyes and leaped into the air. He looked into the distance with a bewildered expression. Wind demon sect. An evil wind blew past, and a figure suddenly appeared. He looked at the distant horizon with a playful expression. A Zephyr Thunder Palace. 5 lightning phantoms of different races joined forces to attack Wu Dao's true body. Although Wu Dao's true body could not injure the 5 lightning phantoms single-handedly, it was difficult for them to injure his core even if they joined forces. Wu Dao's true body looked wretched and was covered in injuries. However, most of them were superficial. As long as the battle stopped, he would recover quickly. Each of the 5 lightning phantoms had different methods and Dao techniques. The black-robed woman's Dao techniques were mysterious and were the most troublesome for Wu Dao's true body. Each time Wu Dao's true body attacked, the black-robed woman seemed to have predicted it and could deduce Wu Dao's true body's intentions. In fact, she could even predict the way and trajectory of his attacks and counterattack in advance. Furthermore, the black-robed woman's movement technique was agile and Wu Dao's true body's repeated attacks were all futile. Of course, Wu Dao's true body relied on his spirit perception and the black-robed woman could not deal any fatal damage to Wu Dao's true body either. The white-robed woman's Dao techniques were more focused on the mind. She had a graceful figure that bewitched one's mind. Wu Dao's true body's Dao heart was as firm as a rock and could not be shaken. The white-robed woman's Dao techniques had the least impact on him and posed the least threat to him. As for the old ape, it was extremely strong and even Wu Dao's true body could not withstand it. The 2 people who appeared later had powerful Dao techniques and heaven-defying combat strength as well. Most of the injuries on Wu Dao's true body were left behind by the old ape and the 2 people behind. Right then, 2 figures appeared in the tribulation clouds once more. One of them was a man in snow-white robes and wielded a long sword with a cold expression. His gaze shifted and landed on Wu Dao's true body without any emotions in his eyes. The white-robed man attacked. A flash of sword light suddenly lit up, and then quickly faded away. Wu Dao's true body had never seen such a terrifying sword technique before. That sword strike fused speed and killing intent together to its limits. It was flawless and incomparably stunning. Wu Dao's true body was already at his limits after being entangled by the 5 lightning phantoms earlier on. There was no way he could defend against that sword strike. Exclamation point. Blood spewed out. In a flash, Wu Dao's true body retreated and avoided his vitals. However, his abdomen was still penetrated by the sword, leaving a bloody hole. At the same time, Qinglian's true body was shocked when he saw that sword strike. Previously, he had seen a tattered piece of ancient white paper in the secret pavilion of the academy with the words Sword Classic written on it. Qinglian's true body had already memorized the sutras of the Sword Classic. However, due to the fact that there were too many incomplete sutras, he could not comprehend the contents at all. But now, Qinglian's true body seemed to have comprehended something when he saw the white-robed man's sword strike. Suddenly, he felt as though he understood a little of the initially obscure and incomplete sutras of the Sword Classic. After the white-robed man, another figure appeared and stepped on the galaxy. With a wave of his hand, stellar transposition was cast. Wu Dao's true body was already at his limit when fighting 1 against 5. The white-robed sword cultivator who had appeared was almost pushing him to the brink of death. If this star phantom was added, Wu Dao's true body would not be able to escape death. The prison-suppressing cauldron sensed that Wu Dao's true body was in danger and trembled. The 4 saint souls left the cauldron and roared. Ang! Screech! The 4 saint souls at the peak of the true first realm surrounded the star phantom behind them and attacked fiercely. With a wave of his hand, a sea of stars surged and the Milky Way appeared. He faced the 4 saint souls with ease and was not at a disadvantage. With the addition of the white-robed sword cultivator and the 6 phantoms, Wu Dao's true body was forced to retreat. Countless wounds appeared on his body and blood gushed out like a fountain. Not long after, Wu Dao's true body was badly damaged and only a skeleton was left. There was some flesh and blood on it, and it was almost impossible to see the shape of a human. In fact, although Wu Dao's true body was in a miserable state, there was still room to maneuver. The 6 phantoms worked together to severely injure Wu Dao's true body, but they were still unable to break his bones. This was because Wu Dao's true body had reached initial success, and Wu Dao's techniques were all imprinted on his bones. Although the 6 phantoms were strong and their techniques were profound, they were still unable to break Wu Dao's body. They were above Wu Dao. This was no longer a tribulation, but more like a battle of techniques. Chapter 2383. Is that person only a true demon? He can't even be killed? When the demons saw this scene, they were all shocked and looked at each other in shock. Yen Zui said solemnly, "That person is already severely injured. Even if he can survive this calamity, he'll definitely die if we take the opportunity to attack." Beneath the health-suppressing cauldron, Yen Beichen, Ming Zhen and the others could only watch helplessly. "Master won't die here, right?" Tian Lang muttered to himself, feeling a little uncertain. Gu Tongyu sighed with a melancholic expression. "Right now, we can only pray that there won't be any more lightning phantoms." The Thunder Emperor Feng Kentian sat cross-legged beneath the hell-suppressing cauldron with his eyes closed, as though he had entered a mysterious state. Within his consciousness, the raging sea of lightning was shrinking and compressing continuously. His strength was also accumulating continuously, as though he was accumulating strength and preparing for an earth-shattering commotion. On the battlefield, Wu Dao's true body was besieged by the 6 lightning phantoms and had nowhere to retreat. Wu Dao's true body suddenly roared into the skies and channeled his essence spirit. His hands conjured hand seals continuously and a gigantic door shrouded in black qi appeared behind him. The door was like a dark abyss that was bottomless. It was also like the bloody mouth of a wild beast that could devour everything. This was a Dao technique that Wu Dao's true body evolved after obtaining the health-suppressing cauldron and controlling the Avicii Hell, the gates of hell. The black qi surrounding the gates of hell was the Avicii fiend qi that could corrode and corrupt everything. "All of you come in." Wu Dao's true body roared and propped up the gates of hell, enveloping the 6 lightning phantoms within. Fiend qi surged and covered the skies. The gates of hell led to the Avicii Hell. Wu Dao's true body wanted to suppress the 6 lightning phantoms within the Avicii Hell. A powerful suction force burst forth from the gates of hell and dragged the 6 lightning phantoms in. The 6 lightning phantoms were shocked as well. They had not expected the door to be able to devour them. They seemed to have sensed danger and hurriedly released all sorts of Dao techniques and sword techniques to resist the Avicii fiend qi, wanting to break free from the gates of hell. Buzz. Boom. Boom. The gates of hell continued to shake violently, emitting a series of loud noises. The first to break free from the gate of hell was the black-robed woman. The tortoise shell in her hand shone with rays of light and mysterious runes that seemed to be able to see through the mysteries of heaven and deduce all things. At the same time, her feet once again unleashed that mysterious footwork. As he took a step forward, a square diagram appeared beneath his feet. It was as if it was all-encompassing and contained all the mysteries of the world. The black-clothed woman used the tortoise shell in her hand and her profound footwork to break free from the Hell's Gate. Even so, it was still a great loss for her this time. The shadow faded a lot and was almost transparent. The second one to rush out was the white-clothed sword cultivator who had appeared last. The sword tore through the Avicii demonic qi and left a clear sword mark on the gates of hell. The white-robed swordsman managed to extricate himself, but there was still quite a bit of Avicii demonic qi on his body. After he had completely dispelled the demonic qi, the apparition faded as well. It seemed that he had used up quite a bit of energy. The gate of hell could no longer trap the remaining 4 people after the white-robed sword cultivator left a crack on it. The old ape smashed down with his rod and created a huge hole in the Hell's Gate. Spiderweb-like cracks filled the area and extended continuously. It was on the verge of collapse. The old ape charged out. Immediately after, it was the dark and light men. The white-robed woman was the last. Although the 6 lightning phantoms managed to escape, they nearly died inside. Furthermore, they suffered great losses this time round. Everyone's auras were weakened by more than half and were no longer as strong as before. The reason why the Gate of Hell was able to release such a powerful might and devour the 6 lightning phantoms was because the Dao technique had already touched upon a hint of the power of a grotto heaven. Wu Dao's true body had just entered the true martial realm and should not have come into contact with a power as such. However, his Wu Dao furnace had refined way too many Dao techniques and divine powers. Later on, he obtained the Hell Suppression Cauldron and controlled the Avicii Hell. He was even trapped in the Avicii Hell for 1,000 years and was tortured. That was the reason why he was able to imitate an existence similar to a grotto heaven. To be precise, Wu Dao's true body had yet to comprehend the power of a grotto heaven. The Gate of Hell was merely a Dao technique that he created by imitating the Avicii Hell. It merely had the form of a grotto heaven but did not have the intent of one. Even so, Wu Dao's true body nearly killed the 6 lightning phantoms of the heavenly tribulation in a single strike. Be it the 6 lightning phantoms or Wu Dao's true body, they were already at their limits in this battle. On the other side, the Constellation Phantom and the 4 Saint Souls were still in a stalemate. Right then, the tribulation clouds appeared once more. Yet another lightning phantom descended. Beneath the Hell Suppression Cauldron, the hearts of Yan Beichen, Ming Zhen and the others sank. Just now, the situation was still balanced and Wu Dao's true body still had the strength to fight. But now, the lightning phantom that appeared once more was about to break that balance completely. There was a high chance that the final phantom would end Wu Dao's true body. It was a monk wearing an ancient kasaya and holding a bronze square cauldron in his hands that was extremely similar in size to the Hell Suppression Cauldron. However, the 4 walls of the cauldron did not have the images of the 4 Saint Souls. Others could not tell what it was, but when Wu Dao's true body saw the bronze square cauldron, he recognized it at a single glance. It was the Hell Suppression Cauldron. Or rather, it was the initial appearance of the Hell Suppression Cauldron. If the bronze square cauldron was the Hell Suppression Cauldron, the identity of the monk was also obvious. The Infernal Emperor. Wu Dao's true body had never seen the Infernal Emperor before. He had never thought that he would be able to see the true appearance of the Infernal Emperor one day. Although the 2 true bodies were separated by billions of miles, the moment they saw the monk, their hearts skipped a beat. Su Zimo had never thought that this powerful Infernal Emperor who was rumored to have suppressed countless evil spirits and even transformed into hell would look like this. The monk had a gentle gaze and looked extremely amiable. After the monk descended with the bronze square cauldron, he was slightly stunned when he saw the Hell Suppression Cauldron. Then he looked at Wu Dao's true body, and a trace of realization seemed to flash through his eyes. Let's end this. The monk smiled slightly and bowed slightly to the 7 lightning phantoms not far away as he said softly. Immediately after, the monk's body suddenly exploded, bursting out with an incomparably terrifying force that swept in all directions, dragging all 7 figures into it. There was no anger, unwillingness, resentment, or surprise on the faces of the 7 phantoms. On the contrary, the 7 phantoms looked at Wu Dao's true body with a trace of admiration and gratification. Immediately after, the 7 phantoms gradually faded and dissipated between heaven and earth. This force was still not exhausted. It soared into the sky and blew apart the tribulation clouds in the sky. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and heaven and earth returned to calm. Just now, that scene was as unreal as a dream, as if it was just an illusion. Wu Dao's true body stood in place, silent. After a long time, he gradually came back to his senses and let out a long breath. Chapter 2384. Although the heavenly tribulation had ended, the battle was not over yet. Watch out! Yen Beichen and the others saw the situation behind Wu Dao's real body, and their expressions changed greatly as they hurriedly warned. Shameless! Gu Tongyu cursed. These people are trying to take advantage of the situation. Yen Zhe and Fairy Zai led the group of demons to attack Wu Dao's real body. In the blink of an eye, they were already in front of him. Even without Yen Beichen and the others' warning, Wu Dao's real body's spiritual sense had already sensed the hostility. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of a sharp weapon piercing through the air was ear-piercing. Wu Dao's real body did not turn around, and instead punched with a backhand. After the 10th tribulation, there was not much flesh left on his fist, and it was almost all bones. But this punch still had the power to destroy the heavens and earth, and it was unstoppable. Clang. The weapon collided with Wu Dao's real body's fist, and the sound of metal clashing rang out, and sparks flew everywhere. It was a weapon similar to a spear, but there were sharp barbs at the tip of the spear. This was Yen Zue's pure young spiritual treasure, the heart-piercing hook. It was said that the heart-piercing hook was an imitation of the King of Hell's weapon. When it pierced through the chest, it could hook out the heart, causing the cultivator's qi and blood to decline, making it difficult for them to recover. Yen Zue's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He never expected that his martial Dao body, whose body had been damaged to such an extent, without any flesh and blood, and only a skeleton, would be able to withstand his pure yang spirit treasure. Yen Zue did not know that the foundation of Wu Dao's real body was this body of bones. Even the 10th tribulation could not break this body of bones. Fairy Zai shouted. Araki Takashi has just finished his tribulation and is at his weakest. Everyone, let's work together and not give him a chance to breathe. Boosh, 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 boom, boom, boom. Following Yen Zue's attack, the demon's spiritual treasures, divine abilities, and secret techniques descended one after another, attacking Wu Dao's real body. You want to touch me with just you? The martial Dao body looked around, his eyes deep and profound. 2 balls of fire burned in his eyes, but his silver mask was ice cold. Suddenly, under the gaze of Wu Dao's real body, a wave of heat from the demons' bodies. Immediately after, scarlet flames burst out from the bodies of the demons and engulfed their entire bodies in an instant, setting off a raging fire. Karmic fire of the Red Lotus, burning karma. In the blink of an eye, many true demons were burned to a bloody pulp. Red lotus flowers appeared on their bodies, creating a strange yet beautiful sight. The group of devils let out a series of shrill screams. The higher a cultivator's cultivation base was, the deeper the karma they were tainted with, and the more powerful the karmic fire would be. In just a short while, dozens of true demons were burned to death by the karmic fire, dying on the spot. When the demons were burned by the karmic fire, their divine abilities and secret techniques were destroyed before they could land. When the spiritual treasures hit Wu Dao's real body, they did not have much power left and scattered on the ground. Cultivation was a heaven-defying act. No matter who it was, to be able to cultivate to this level, their hands were stained with blood. Who did not have karmic fire on them? For example, Fairy Zai, who had killed countless women and children in order to cultivate evil techniques, was even more sinful and full of karmic fire. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus was the most harmful to her. Araki Takashi! Araki Takashi! Fairy Zai screamed hysterically, as if she had gone mad. She kept tearing at her clothes, trying to put out the fire on her body. But the karmic fire on her body grew stronger and stronger, soaring into the sky and forming a huge pillar of fire. Yen Zue's karmic fire also burned, but he suppressed it, and the fire did not grow stronger. Break for me! 2 rays of light, one black and one white, flowed out of Yen Zue's yin-yang eyes. They instantly covered his body and extinguished the karmic fire. After all, Yen Zue was a supreme true demon. Mere karmic fire could not threaten him. I'll kill you! On the other side, Fairy Zai suddenly screamed. She bit the tip of her tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood essence. At the same time, she released a secret technique. Suddenly, a purplish-red blood burst out from her body, and it was extremely smelly. Sizzle! The purplish-red blood splashed on the karmic fire, and there was a sizzling sound as green smoke billowed. The karmic fire was quickly extinguished. In the green smoke, Fairy Zai's hair was disheveled, and her clothes were ragged. She seemed to have aged in an instant, and her face was full of wrinkles. She looked like an old woman, and there was no trace of her youthful beauty. Fairy Zai glared at Wu Dao's real body and gritted her teeth. "Araki Takashi, you destroyed my cultivation. I will remember this. In the future, I will repay you tenfold." Before Fairy Zai could finish her words, Wu Dao's real body shook his head slightly and interrupted her. "Don't think too much. There is no future for you." As soon as he finished speaking, the aura of Wu Dao's real body changed greatly, and his eyes became gloomy. A ball of black flames suddenly appeared under Wu Dao's real body's feet. Chilly winds blew, and the ball of black flames quickly spread in all directions. From afar, it looked like a huge black fire lotus. In an instant, it enveloped Yanze, Fairy Zai, and the rest of the demons. The black flames burned the surrounding space until it was distorted. The demons tried to teleport, but they all failed and could not escape. Hellfire. The flames did not feel hot at all. Instead, they were eerie and cold, and the chill was bone-chilling. It contained the pain and will of billions of living beings, and no one could withstand it. The demons had already been severely injured by the karmic fire. Now that they were engulfed by the hellfire, they could no longer withstand it. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of true demons were burned to black ashes, their bodies and souls destroyed. In less than 10 breaths, the remaining true demons would all be buried here. Fairy Zai had lost hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation to extinguish the karmic fire. Now, in the face of the hellfire, she no longer had the strength to resist. She was also burned to ashes, her body and Dao destroyed. Her Xian-in mother-child banner was also completely destroyed under the continuous burning of the karmic fire and hellfire. Countless ghostly figures of children and women broke free from the banner. This time, the children and women's faces were no longer ferocious or resentful. Instead, they were filled with joy from being freed. In the blazing flames, countless women held their children and bowed deeply in the direction of Wu Dao's real body, their faces full of endless gratitude. If it were not for the two flames and Fairy Zai had not died, these lonely souls and vengeful ghosts would have been enslaved by Fairy Zai forever. They would have no consciousness of their own and would have been able to do evil everywhere. But now, Fairy Zai was dead and the Xian-in mother-child banner was destroyed. These children and women were finally free. Countless mothers and children were reunited. They would head to the netherworld and enter the cycle of reincarnation. Amitabha. When Mingzhen saw the scene, he softly chanted a Buddhist proclamation and the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's original vows sutra to release these vengeful spirits from purgatory. Chapter 2385. Yenzue could only watch helplessly as Zai Fairy died. Under the onslaught of the hellfire, he could barely take care of himself. Yenzue's body emitted the sound of surging blood and qi. But just relying on his blood and qi was not enough to suppress the onslaught of the hellfire. Yenzue endured the pain and torment in his body and pushed his blood and qi to the limit. Behind him, a tall figure appeared. He wore a wide-sleeved robe and had a crown on his head. He sat upright and still, holding a weapon that looked very similar to the heart-piercing hook in his hand. Beside him, there was a huge blood-stained guillotine. After this figure appeared, it exuded an eerie and terrifying aura. Although it was just sitting there, it exuded a supreme majesty. This was Yenzue's bloodline vision, the legendary King of Hell. As the King of Hell's figure appeared, the sky darkened. The hellfire in Yenzue's body was also completely suppressed. It flickered and was about to be extinguished. With the help of his bloodline vision, Yenzue's aura skyrocketed. He shouted, "Araki Takashi, you may be stronger than me in battle, but you are dreaming if you think you can kill a supreme true demon." "Is that so?" Wu Dao's real body replied casually. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and took a deep breath. An endless stream of heaven and earth yuan qi surged toward Wu Dao's real body. Mysterious runes flickered on his Dao body, and his flesh and blood were rapidly regenerating. In just a few breaths, Wu Dao's real body's flesh and blood had been restored to its original state. He was wearing a brand new purple robe. Yen Zue's expression changed. He suddenly realized that Araki Takashi had not become weak after the tribulation. Instead, he had become stronger. Even the legendary 10th tribulation had not been able to damage this person's foundation. Wu Dao's real body circulated his blood and pushed it to the limit. When he was going through the 99 heavenly tribulations, he had already released his bloodline vision, the heaven and earth furnace. Now, the interval was too short and he could not release it again. However, in reality, he controlled another bloodline phenomenon. Behind Wu Dao's true body, a giant life form slowly rose up. Its entire body was bathed in boiling red lava. It looked like a dragon and a phoenix, with the head of a dragon and the tail of a phoenix. Its claws were sharp and fierce, as if they were real. On this creature's back was a pair of wings. They were scarlet red like flames, gently flapping about. Its entire body was suffused with terrifying aura. The creature looked down at Yen Zue with cold eyes, as if it was looking at an ant. For some reason, Yen Zue felt a fear that came from the depths of his soul. Even his bloodline started to calm down. "This is..." A legend flashed through Yen Zue's mind, and his face paled as he cried out in shock. The Forbidden Dragon Phoenix. This bloodline phenomenon was none other than the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix. After Wu Dao's original body had refined the Dragon Phoenix true body, he had also inherited the Dragon Phoenix bloodline. He had long mastered this bloodline phenomenon. However, he had the Heaven and Earth Furnace, which was an even more powerful bloodline phenomenon, so he had almost never used it. Now, facing Yen Zue's bloodline phenomenon, Wu Dao's original body had brought out the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix. Even when facing the legendary King Yen Luo of the underworld, the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix was not at a disadvantage in terms of aura and pressure. On the contrary, Yen Zue's blood qi was suppressed. As his bloodline calmed down, the bloodline phenomenon behind Yen Zue also shook slightly, showing signs of fading away. Yen Zue suddenly realized that this was not the time to show weakness. Otherwise, he would suffer a crushing defeat. Just as he was about to activate his bloodline and prepare to fight with all his strength, the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix behind Wu Dao's original body roared and charged over. The Forbidden Dragon Phoenix true body charged straight at the King Yen Luo phenomenon. The King Yen Luo phenomenon did not show weakness either. It waved the heart-piercing hook with one hand and the giant guillotine with the other as it fought the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix. Puff puff puff. Although it was just a battle between two bloodline phenomenons, it was still earth-shattering. In fact, it was not any weaker than the 99 heavenly tribulations just now. The Forbidden Dragon Phoenix's body was covered in scales by the heart-piercing hook, and the guillotine had cut open many bone-deep wounds that were dripping with blood. The King Yenlua's situation was even more miserable. His entire body was almost torn apart by the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix, and every wound was burning with Dragon Phoenix flames that could not be extinguished. Wu Dao's original body moved and stepped forward. He raised his hand and punched at Yen Zue. Yen Zue also opened his arms and punched dozens of times in an instant. He roared, "Yama fist!" Bam, bam. Wu Dao's original body did not dodge. He punched twice in a row, powerful and majestic, and smashed Yen Zue's punches to smithereens. No matter what divine ability or secret art Yen Zue used, Wu Dao's original body punched it. Brute force can defeat 10. Yen Zue clenched the heart-piercing hook with both hands and stabbed it at Wu Dao's original body's fist. At the same time, he unleashed his eye technique. Two beams of light, one black and one white, shot out from his eyes and rotated towards Wu Dao's original body as if they wanted to suck him in. Two flames burst out from the eyes of Wu Dao's original body. The two flames landed on the black and white beams of light and burned fiercely. The real Wu Dao's body had not reached major completion yet, so Wu Dao's technique had not been integrated into his eyes. Therefore, this eye technique could not cause any harm to Yen Zue. If his true martial Taoist body had reached the great perfection stage, The eruption of this eye technique would have instantly pierced Yen Zui's eyes and set them ablaze. Clang. The heart-piercing hook collided with the fist of Wu Dao's original body. Yen Zui's body shook as he felt an irresistible force enter his body through the heart-piercing hook. Under this shocking divine power, his internal organs were shaken violently, and they began to shift. Exclamation point. Yen Zui spat out a mouthful of blood. Wu Dao's original body opened his fist and grabbed the heart-piercing hook. He exerted force in his palm and directly stabbed the hook. The heart-piercing hook instantly pierced Yen Zui's chest and pierced his heart. Wu Dao's original body pulled outwards, and the heart-piercing hook hooked out a beating heart. Yen Zui's qi and blood instantly declined. At the same time, the Yamaking avatar behind him also collapsed. The hellfires still did not dissipate. Originally, Yen Zui could rely on his bloodline anomaly to suppress the hellfire's impact. But now, his qi and blood were exhausted, and his anomaly had dissipated, so he could no longer suppress the hellfire. Black flames swept over again and instantly covered his entire body. A bone-chilling chill penetrated his bones and seeped into his soul. Ah! Yen Zui screamed as he felt a pain he had never felt before. I am the supreme true demon, #1 on the true demon ranking. I will not be defeated. Yen Zui roared hysterically. He was already delirious from the burning of the hellfire. As long as I am in the demon domain, no one dares to call themselves supreme. Wu Dao's original body looked at Yen Zui, who was struggling and screaming at his feet, and said coldly. Hearing this, Yen Zui's mind shook, and he instantly regained consciousness. A sense of helplessness surged from the depths of his heart, and he almost despaired. As long as I am in the demon domain, no one dares to call themselves supreme. These words made him feel suffocated. What arrogance! At this moment, a shout came from afar. End of chapter. Chapter 2386. Not far away, a man in black armor with a cold expression walked through the air. Behind him were dozens of cultivators, 3 of which were true demons and the rest were celestial immortals. Below the prison-suppressing cauldron, Gu Tongyu recognized these people and quickly sent a message to Wu Dao's main body. Patriarch Araki Takashi, be careful. These people should be cultivators from the Black Demon Sect. The Black Demon Sect is a heaven-rank force in the demon domain. It is said that Patriarch Black Sky Demon God has cultivated to the peak of the Grotto Heaven realm and is extremely strong. He is one of the overlords of the Central Plains. Black Demon Sect. Yen Zui, who was on the verge of despair, saw the clothes of these people and the tokens at their waists. He immediately recognized them and a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes. Save me. Fellow Taoists of the Black Demon Sect, please save me. Yen Zui hurriedly said. Wu Dao's main body looked up at the approaching group and ignored them. He indifferently said, no one can save you today. Before his voice fell, Wu Dao's main body gently raised his hand and a scarlet flame burst out from his fingertip. It was like a sharp sword that instantly pierced between Yen Zui's eyebrows. Stop. The leader of the Black Demon Sect saw Wu Dao's main body raise his hand and hurriedly tried to stop him, but it was already too late. Puchi. Yen Zui's forehead was pierced and his spiritual sea burned. His primordial spirit was extinguished and he died on the spot. How dare you! A true demon from the Black Demon Sect stepped forward and pointed at Wu Dao's main body. He shouted, Protector Zhongyan already told you to stop. Did you not hear him? I think you are courting death. Another true demon narrowed his eyes and stepped forward, his face filled with killing intent. The leader of the Black Demon Sect called Zhongyan raised his hand and stopped the 2 true demons behind him. Zhongyan looked at Yen Zui's corpse and a trace of regret flashed through his eyes. No matter what, Yen Zui was once a supreme true demon and had the highest chance of entering the Grotto Heaven realm. If they could save him and make him submit to the Black Demon Sect, he would be a great help to the Patriarch. Now that he was dead, it was a pity. However, since this purple-robed man with a silver mask was able to kill Yen Zui, it meant that he was stronger than Yen Zui. If he could subdue it, it would make up for the loss of Yen Zui. It was just that Zhong Yan's consciousness had probed Wu Dao's body several times, but he was still unable to see through him. However, just now, Wu Dao's main body had made a move and the remnant aura on the battlefield could be roughly deduced that this purple-robed man should be a true self-cultivator. Zhong Yan glanced at Feng Kentian, who was breaking through under the prison's suppressing cauldron. He thought to himself, Patriarch is really amazing. Feng Kentian hasn't broken through yet, but he can already feel the abnormal fluctuations coming from here. Feng Kentian was in the middle of a breakthrough, so Zhong Yan didn't disturb him. If Feng Kentian successfully broke through, he would take out the Dark Sky Devil's Patriarch's token and bring Feng Kentian back. I am Zhong Yan, a protector of the Black Demon sect. Zhong Yan looked at Wu Dao's main body and asked in a low voice, What is your name? Araki Takashi. Wu Dao's main body replied casually, then turned around to tidy up the battlefield and put away the Dao fruits of Yenzei, Fairy's Eye, and the others. Each of these Dao fruits contain their own Dao arts and the essence of their cultivation. To any true self-cultivator, Dao fruits were a great supplement. They were a rare cultivation resource and the most precious. Wu Dao's main body refined all Dao fruits, so these Dao fruits were of great help to him. Moreover, refining these Dao fruits could also refine Wu Dao's true self-body. Zhong Yan was a half-step Grotto Heaven realm expert, so refining Dao fruits was useless. However, the eyes of the three true demons behind him lit up with greed, and they were itching to make a move. Protector, what do you think? One of the true demons asked in a low voice. Zhong Yan's expression was indifferent. He was not in a hurry. After Wu Dao's main body collected all the Dao fruits, Zhong Yan said, Araki Takashi, give me those Dao fruits and a few pure yang spirit treasures. You can keep the rest of the treasures. Wu Dao's main body raised his eyebrows slightly. Don't you understand? Zhong Yan's lips curled into a cold smile. He said loudly, Everything under the heavens belongs to the king. The place you are in belongs to the Black Demon sect. All the treasures in the territory belong to the Black Demon sect. No matter who obtains them, they must be handed over. The fact that I didn't ask for all the treasures you've obtained is already an extra favor for you. Wu Dao's main body was expressionless. He asked in return, What if I don't hand them over? Zhong Yan laughed. The three true demons and dozens of sky immortals behind him also laughed. Did this true demon in front of them want to fight against a colossus like the Black Demon sect? That was simply throwing an egg at a rock, a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You killed Yenzue and the others. Do you really think you are invincible in the world? Zhong Yan walked toward Wu Dao's main body and shook his head. It seems that it is time to dampen your spirit and let you see who is the master of this territory. Zhong Yan strode forward and attacked first. Suddenly, a pitch-black iron mace appeared in his palm and smashed down at the head of the martial Dao true body. This mace was powerful and extremely ferocious. Wu Dao's main body didn't dodge. He raised his hand and punched. Bang! The iron mace hit Wu Dao's main body's fist and was defeated. Wu Dao's main body frowned slightly and took half a step back. The void behind Zhong Yan collapsed slightly, but no Grotto Heaven appeared. There was only a blurry shadow of a Grotto Heaven. Half-step Grotto Heaven. Over the years, Wu Dao's main body had browsed through many ancient books and secret techniques. There were very detailed records of half-step Grotto Heaven. To be precise, half-step Grotto Heaven couldn't be considered as a cultivation realm. When one's Dao fruit shattered, they could make use of the immense power released from the shattered Dao fruit to break through the void and open up another Grotto Heaven. However, the process was filled with danger and uncertainty. If one's Dao fruit wasn't strong enough or their Dao technique wasn't condensed enough, there was a high chance that their Dao fruit would shatter without being able to open up a Grotto Heaven. If one's Dao fruit shattered without a Grotto Heaven formed, it would be equivalent to their entire cultivation being destroyed. Therefore, during the process of breaking through, if a cultivator sensed that something was amiss and their strength was depleted, the chances of opening up a Grotto Heaven were slim. They could choose to take a step back. They could make use of the power of the shattered Dao fruit to form a Grotto Heaven phantom. They were considered as having half a step into the Grotto Heaven realm and had already come into contact with the power of the Grotto Heaven realm. That was a half-step Grotto Heaven realm. There were two benefits to being a half-step Grotto Heaven realm. Firstly, because they had already come into contact with the Grotto Heaven realm, their lifespan would increase exponentially to 1,000,000 years. Secondly, a half-step Grotto Heaven realm cultivator could release a trace of the power of the Grotto Heaven. Although it was only a trace, in terms of strength, it was above quintessential essence and could crush true self-realm experts. However, there was also a disadvantage that many people could not accept if a cultivator chose to be a half-step Grotto Heaven realm cultivator. That was, if one chose to take a step back and stay at the half-step Grotto Heaven realm, they would have no hope of stepping into the true Grotto Heaven realm for the rest of their lives. That was because the Tao fruit had already shattered and turned into a Grotto Heaven phantom. Cultivators did not have enough strength to support it and open up another Grotto Heaven. Therefore, although there was no heavenly tribulation when a cultivator tried to break through to the Grotto Heaven realm, it was accompanied by immense danger. Or he could choose a half-step Grotto Heaven realm cultivator and never have the chance to become a king. One could also focus on breaking through the barrier of the Grotto Heaven realm and not retreat. If they failed, their cultivation would be destroyed and they would fall to the bottom of the valley, vanishing from the masses. Chapter 2387. Just now, the half-step Grotto Heaven Zhong Yan had used a bit of Grotto Heaven power when he attacked. The real Wu Dao body was only at the initial success stage and was slightly weaker in terms of strength. That was why he was able to force Wu Dao's true body back half a step. This did not mean that Zhong Yan could threaten Wu Dao's true body. One had to know that Wu Dao's true body had just passed the true martial heavenly tribulation and had fought with Yan Zui and the others. He had almost used up all his trump cards. If he was at his peak, Wu Dao's true body could release his bloodline phenomenon and use the heaven and earth furnace to refine Zhong Yan's Grotto Heaven shadow. Oh! Zhong Yan was surprised to see Wu Dao's true body only take half a step back. He frowned and said, "You can actually block my mace? You do have some skills. Protector will help you." The three true demons immediately stood up and looked at Wu Dao's true body with red eyes. They charged at him from different directions. Wu Dao's true body had hundreds of Dao fruits. Whoever could kill him would have a reason to take a few more. The remaining dozens of heavenly immortals cheered excitedly. Zhong Yan raised the Grotto Heaven shadow behind him and charged forward again with the black mace. Half-step Grotto Heaven shadow wants to break my spirit? Wu Dao's true body used his divine sense and shouted, "Suppress!" The prison's suppressing cauldrons suddenly flew over. Under the control of Wu Dao's true body, it descended from the sky and burst out with a powerful force to suppress Zhong Yan. The prison's suppressing cauldron was the key used by Emperor Wu Ji to suppress Avicii Hell. It was easy to imagine how terrifying the suppression power of this cauldron was. Inside the prison's suppressing cauldron, Sanskrit chants echoed endlessly. It was incomparably sacred. Outside the walls of the cauldron, there was the pressure of the four saint souls. Before the cauldron descended, countless rays of light flowed down like a waterfall. Zhong Yan was shocked and his expression changed. Under the cover of the cauldron of Zhenyu, the pressure was everywhere, causing him to feel suffocated and unable to move, let alone attack Su Zimo. Zhong Yan hurriedly switched from offense to defense. He raised the pitch-black mace above his head, intending to use it to resist the prison-suppressing cauldron. Boom! The prison-suppressing cauldron descended and smashed heavily onto the pitch-black mace. Zhong Yan's entire body trembled violently. His entire body shrank and his feet sank into the ground. The tremendous force nearly crushed his body. Under the suppression of the prison-suppressing cauldron, the black mace was clearly bent in the middle. And the range was getting bigger and bigger. Zhong Yan's face was flushed red and he didn't dare to let go. If he loosened his grip, he would be smashed into a pile of meat paste by the cauldron. Protector! Seeing this, the three true demons cried out in shock and attacked one after another. Go! Wu Dao's true body thought. The four saint souls flew out of the prison's suppressing cauldron. The Azure Dragon Saint Soul, Vermilion Bird Saint Soul, and White Tiger Saint's soul charged toward the three true demons. The three true demons had just attacked, but before their mystic arts could land on Wu Dao's true body, they were neutralized by the three saint souls. After the true martial heavenly tribulation, the four saint souls' battle power had reached the peak of the true first realm. The three true demons were no match for them. In just a few breaths, the three true demons were forced to retreat. As if on purpose, the three true demons were forced back into the range of the prison suppressing cauldron by the three saint souls. Under the suppression of the prison suppressing cauldron, even the half-step grotto heaven Zhong Yen could barely hold on. The three true demons couldn't resist at all. Pluck. The three true demons knelt on the ground and spat out blood. Their faces were pale and they couldn't move at all. The dozens of heaven immortals were originally waving flags and cheering excitedly, but they didn't expect the situation to suddenly change. Zhong Yen and the other three true demons were all suppressed by Wu Dao's true body. The dozens of heaven immortals scattered and prepared to escape back to the Black Demon sect to seek help. But they suddenly realized that they were already in a deep and dark ocean. They couldn't see the end of it. Not far away, there was a huge spirit turtle floating in the deep sea. Its pair of cold eyes watched their every move. If they made any movements, the spirit turtle would emerge from the sea and set off waves that wanted to swallow them whole. The Black Tortoise Saint soul was also at the peak of the true first realm. It could easily deal with dozens of heaven immortals. The dozens of heaven immortals were tactful and didn't dare to make any moves. They could only stand where they were. In the blink of an eye, everyone from the Black Demon sect, including the half-step grotto heaven Zhong Yen, was suppressed by Wu Dao's true body. In fact, if Wu Dao's true body wanted to kill these people, it would only take a thought. It wasn't difficult for him to kill a half-step grotto heaven realm cultivator with the help of the prison's suppressing cauldron. But Wu Dao's true body had some concerns. He wasn't worried about himself, but about Feng Cantian, who was breaking through. After all, the Black Demon sect was a heaven sect. If he killed Zhong Yen and the others, it was very likely that it would alarm the grotto heaven realm experts of the Black Demon sect. If a demon king descended, there would definitely be many unforeseen events. Wu Dao's true body could see that Feng Cantian's breakthrough had reached the most critical moment. There couldn't be any mistakes. Therefore, Wu Dao's true body only suppressed Zhong Yen and the others, waiting for the final result of Feng Cantian's breakthrough. Rumble. In the sky, a huge shadow floated over. Dark clouds covered the sky and thunder rumbled in the sky. This time, the dark clouds floated above Feng Cantian's head. Lightning bolts descended from the sky and entered Feng Cantian's body. Feng Kenon was accumulating his last bit of strength, preparing to fight with all his strength. His Dao fruit had shattered and he originally didn't have the chance to step into the grotto heaven. But in the 400,000 years of the 10 extreme prison, he didn't give up. Instead, he comprehended another path and condensed a sea of lightning in his sea of consciousness. But even so, he still didn't have the chance to step into the grotto heaven. This time, Wu Dao's true body underwent the tribulation. He also experienced the baptism of the heavenly tribulation once again. He also personally experienced the unprecedented 99 heavenly tribulations and received great enlightenment. 99 heavenly tribulations was something that only appeared once in a million years. To Feng Cantian, this was an unimaginably huge opportunity. It was more precious than any ancient ruins or emperor's inheritance. Under the baptism of the heavenly tribulation this time, Feng Cantian gradually comprehended the might of the heavenly tribulation and the wrath of lightning. He finally felt the opportunity to step into the grotto heaven realm. A blazing sea of lightning slowly floated out from Feng Cantian's glabella. This sea of lightning bathed in the lightning in the sky and its power continued to rise. But under the control of Feng Cantian's will, the sea of lightning gradually shrank and condensed into a water droplet. Although it was only the size of a fingernail, this water droplet condensed a sea of lightning. Lightning bolts intertwined in it and it was dazzling. It contained a terrifying power that made one's heart palpitate. Feng Cantian's Dao arts were condensed in the water droplet. Just this water droplet seemed to be able to destroy a part of the world. After an unknown period of time, the power in this water droplet had accumulated to the peak. Feng Cantillon suddenly stood up. His black hair danced in the wind and his eyes were filled with rage. His aura was monstrous as he shouted, "Break!" Boom! This water droplet suddenly exploded. The boundless power accumulated in it was suddenly released and exploded. Chapter 2388. Rumble. The water droplets exploded and a huge force struck the void. The void caved in and the surroundings were filled with cracks. The transformation did not stop. The void was still caved in and a cave room appeared. Lightning flashed in it and it was dazzling. Grotto Heaven initial stage. This Grotto Heaven was closely related to Feng Cantillon and connected to the heavens and the three realms. In this step of cultivation, Feng Cantillon could use the Grotto Heaven to plunder the heaven and earth Yuan Qi. He did not need to use any cultivation resources like elemental spirit stones. Grotto Heaven was the symbol of the upper world king. Only those with Grotto Heaven were qualified to be king. To cultivators, Grotto Heaven could be said to be a complete transformation. There would be a huge improvement in almost every aspect. The power of Grotto Heaven far surpassed the power of true Yuan. It was a higher level of power. For example, Zhong Yan, who was half a step from Grotto Heaven, could only release a trace of Grotto Heaven power. He could fight against Wu Dao's real body, Wu Dao's real body. If one could cultivate a real Grotto Heaven, that kind of power would be enough to destroy the heavens and earth. Their battle prowess would rise to another level. When cultivating, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi would enter the Grotto Heaven. After being baptized by the Grotto Heaven, the impurities would be removed and it would become incomparably pure. Then, it would enter the cultivator's body and cultivation would be much easier. The Grotto Heaven nurtured the cultivator's Tao and had pure heaven and earth Yuan Qi. It could also nourish the natal magic treasure and transform it into a Grotto Heaven spiritual treasure. In a battle between kings, with the help of the Grotto Heaven, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi would be endless. They could fight and replenish at the same time. After entering the Grotto Heaven, one could directly tear through the void and travel thousands of miles. At least in a realm, one could freely travel and would not encounter the danger of a black hole in space. Only by crossing realms could one encounter a black hole in space. After all, the distance between realms was too far. There was an ocean of stars and many unknown places in between. Feng Cantillon stood in the air and roared at the sky, venting the emotions that had been suppressed for a long time. There was unwillingness, hatred, and anger. When he first ascended to the heaven world, he quickly rose and became famous in the 9 heavens. But in the end, he was plotted against and fell from his pedestal. He was imprisoned for a total of 400,000 years. No one knew how he had survived for the past 400,000 years. Even in such a cruel environment, in such a hopeless situation, he did not give up. In the end, he waited until Su Zimo escaped. And now, he had finally stepped into the Grotto Heaven and become an immortal king. But all of this was 400,000 years too late. The lightning grotto seemed to have sensed the anger in Feng Cantillon's heart. It also let out a deafening roar of thunder that shook one's soul. Feng Cantillon's roar was accompanied by rolling thunder that resounded throughout the heavens and earth. The fury of thunder caused all living beings to lose their voices and become as silent as cicadas in winter. Yan Beichen, Ming Zhen, Gu Tongyu, and Qiu Siluo were both shocked and overjoyed. Tian Lang blinked his eyes as if he had thought of something. His eyes lit up with excitement. "Master, master!" Skywolf suddenly shouted as he looked at Wu Dao's main body, who was still suppressing Zhong Yan and the others. "What is it?" Wu Dao's main body glanced sideways. Skywolf pointed at Feng Cantillon in midair and said excitedly, "Among the 7 emotions demonic generals, there are already candidates for joy and hatred. I think this Feng Cantillon is very suitable for the fury of the 7 emotions." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Wu Dao's main body frowned and reprimanded. Skywolf's interest did not diminish as he continued, If you can pull him into the 7 emotions demonic generals, with an immortal king overseeing them, the overall strength of the 7 emotions demonic generals will skyrocket. Both of you are from Tianhuang region. Let's discuss it. Skywolf kept egging them on. Wu Dao's main body did not say a word and ignored Skywolf. The 7 emotions demonic generals were under him and under his command. Feng Kentian was the palace master of the Zephyr Thunder Palace. Now that he had stepped into the Grotto Heaven realm and become an immortal king, how could he be under him? Feng Kentian was indeed suitable for the fury of the 7 emotions, but it did not make sense. Skywolf said a few more words, but seeing that Wu Dao's main body did not say anything, he felt that it was boring and gave up. At this moment, Feng Kentian took a deep breath and moved his divine sense. The Thunder Grotto Heaven behind him gradually disappeared. He had just stepped into the Grotto Heaven and was not familiar with controlling it. Feng Kentian looked at Wu Dao's main body and bowed to express his gratitude. If you did not come to help me this time, I would have died long ago and the Zephyr Thunder Palace would have been reduced to ruins, not to mention stepping into the Grotto Heaven. Fellow Taoist, you are the biggest benefactor in my life. However, after pausing for a while, Feng Kentian changed the topic and asked with a complicated expression, I have something that I hope you can give me an answer to. How did you get the bronze square cauldron in your hand? Who did you get it from? Wu Dao's main body knew what Feng Kentian was thinking. Brother Feng, it's me. Wu Dao's main body transmitted his voice using his divine sense. He did not hide his voice. When the two parted ways in the divine firmament immortal realm, they had drunk strong wine together and called each other brothers. Feng Zi and true immortal Zhangye were also present. Feng Kentian had once said that the rules and seniority were bullshit in his eyes. If he liked someone, he would befriend them. If he did not like them, so what if they were immortal emperors? Feng Kentian was slightly startled when he heard the voice. Soon after, his eyes were filled with joy as he laughed. Ha! Good brother, it's really you. Feng Kentian had thought of this at first, but he had denied it. Now he was finally sure. Of course, Feng Kentian was certain that the Araki Takashi before him was definitely not the same body as Su Zimo in the divine firmament immortal realm. After all, their Dao skills were too different. There was almost no overlap between them. Now that he knew the identity of Wu Dao's main body, Feng Tsantian's last worry was gone. He was in a great mood. Brother Su, how did you, with Feng Tsantian's eyesight and experience, Su Zimo in the divine firmament immortal realm might have some kind of cloning technique. However, even if he stepped into the Grotto Heaven realm and became a celestial king, he still could not see through Wu Dao's main body. It's a long story. Wu Dao's main body pondered for a while and did not explain. Instead, he asked, Big Brother Feng, how should we deal with these people? Cultivators of the Black Demon Sect. Feng Kentian frowned and waved his hand. Tell them to scram. There was no deep hatred between the two sides, so there was no need to kill them. Wu Dao's main body nodded and removed the prison-suppressing cauldron. With a thought, the 4 saint souls merged back into the cauldron. Zhong Yan was already exhausted. He knelt on the ground and panted heavily. He slowly took out a token from his bag of holding and raised it above his head. He said loudly, Feng Kun, Patriarch has ordered you to leave immediately and pay him a visit. What did you say? Feng Tsantian's face turned cold. Zhong Yan gritted his teeth and said, Feng Kun, this is a chance given to you by the Dark Sky Demon Patriarch. You better think about it and don't fail to appreciate it. Chapter 2389. Are you threatening me? Feng Tsantian's eyes were like lightning as he waved his sleeves. The stupefying evil spear turned into a bolt of lightning and pierced Zhong Yan's chest, pinning him to the ground. What sort of person was Feng Kentian? Back in the divine firmament immortal domain, he was fearless and dared to challenge everything. Even after being imprisoned for 400,000 years, he had never bowed his head. Now that he had entered the Grotto Heaven, how could he be controlled or threatened by others? After being pierced by the stupefying evil spear, the power of thunder surged into Zhong Yan's body and his Grotto Heaven phantom collapsed instantly. He shuddered endlessly and spat out blood. Although Zhong Yan was not dead, his cultivation was almost crippled. Fufu. Right then, a dry chuckle sounded in midair. Immediately after, a crack appeared in the void and a figure in a black cloak walked out. His aura was terrifying and was far above Feng Cantian's. The moment that person appeared, the sky dimmed instantly. It was the patriarch of Black Fiend sect, the Dark Sky Fiend God. Patriarch. When Zhong Yan saw who it was, he tried his best to raise the badge in his hands, as though he wanted to say something. Your cultivation is crippled. There's no point in keeping you alive. The Dark Sky Fiend God had a cold expression and merely glanced at Zhong Yan. Gradually, a black mist shrouded the latter's body. After a few breaths, the black mist dissipated and Zhong Yan was reduced to a dried corpse. He was dead. Feng Cantian narrowed his eyes with a grim expression. Let's get straight to the point. The Dark Sky Fiend God looked at Feng Cantian and said slowly, since you've already entered the Grotto Heaven realm, I'll give you two options. First, you can join Black Fiend sect. I value your potential and can let you take the position of the Deputy Patriarch of Black Fiend sect. You're second only to one and above everyone else. The second option. Before the Dark Sky Fiend God could finish, Feng Cantian waved his hand and interrupted, there's no need to say any more. I won't choose either option. I have my own path. Then you're choosing death. The Dark Sky Fiend God's expression darkened as he said faintly, oh. Feng Cantian opened his palm and the stupefying evil spear returning to his hand. That action was enough to prove everything. The Dark Sky Demon smiled and said, don't tell me you think you have the right to compete with me after achieving the Paradise Realm? Your Grotto Heaven has only just formed. How much of the Grotto Heaven realm's power can you unleash? Feng Cantian remained silent. In fact, the Dark Sky Demon God was right. He had just stepped into the Grotto Heaven realm and had yet to fully comprehend the power of the Grotto Heaven realm. Thus, he was unable to unleash the full strength of the Grotto Heaven realm. He was definitely no match for the Dark Sky Demon God. What's more, the Grotto Heaven realm was also divided into big and small Grotto Heavens. Forming a small Grotto Heaven was only an ordinary king. If he continued to cultivate, he would be able to form a Grotto Heaven. Only then would he be considered a peerless king. His Grotto Heaven had just been formed, and it was only a small Grotto Heaven. As for the Black Heaven's demonic god, he had been famous for many years and had long condensed a Grotto Heaven. He was far superior to him. Even the frightening evil spear in his hand had yet to be nurtured in the Thunderbolt Paradise, and had yet to transform into a paradise spiritual treasure. Even so, Feng Cantian was not afraid. His battle intent soared to the sky. It was true that he had yet to fully control the power of the Grotto Heaven, but what better opportunity was there to train himself? Only by fighting a peerless demon king would he be able to control the Thunderbolt Paradise faster and familiarize himself with the battle between kings. Feng Cantian's only worry was Wu Dao's main body and the others. Once the battle erupted, he would not be able to take care of himself and would not be able to protect Wu Dao's main body and the others. As a peerless demon king, the Dark Sky Demon God had countless powerful methods. It was highly possible that he could form a Grotto Heaven and envelop all of them. Big Brother Feng, if you want to fight him, then go ahead. You don't have to worry about us. At this moment, the voice of Wu Dao's main body resounded in Feng Cantian's mind. Feng Cantian thought that Wu Dao's main body was just comforting him. However, he heard Wu Dao's main body continue, I have a method to bring the others to break through the void and leave this place to hide. Feng Cantian was shocked as he looked at Wu Dao's main body in disbelief. Breaking through the void to leave was a power that only a Grotto Heaven realm king could unleash. A perfected immortal could not do it. However, he knew that this was no small matter. Wu Dao's main body would not speak nonsense. In fact, Wu Dao's main body was unable to break through the void to leave this place with his own strength. He needed to borrow the power of the hell-suppressing cauldron to break through the void and rely on his connection with the Avicii hell to enter and hide there. After confirming that Wu Dao's main body and the others would not be in danger, Feng Cantian was relieved. What do you think? The dark sky demon god asked slowly. Feng Cantillon smiled as his eyes lit up. Just as he was about to accept the challenge, a voice suddenly resounded in the sky on the other side. Dark sky, you're too much of a bully. The void split open and a yellow-robed man appeared. He walked over with turbid yellow eyes that emitted a strange light. Manor Lord Acheron, what are you doing here? When the dark sky demon god saw this person, fear flashed through his eyes. The yellow-robed man glanced at Feng Cantillon. Just as he was about to speak, he inadvertently saw the health-suppressing cauldron in the hands of Wu Dao's main body. His pupils constricted slightly. However, the yellow-robed man quickly returned to normal and continued, "This person has entered the Grotto Heaven realm and become a demon king. Naturally, I have to come over to congratulate him." The dark sky demon god sneered, "Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. This is the territory of my black demon sect, not your Acheron manor." "I know." The yellow-robed man smiled and said, "I don't want anything from your territory. However, you can't stop me from recruiting Feng Cantillon, right? You want to kill him and I want to save him. That's all." Feng Cantillon frowned slightly. After the yellow-robed man appeared, the situation suddenly changed. Furthermore, he did not know this person at all and did not have any relationship with this yellow-robed man. The dark sky demon god sneered again and said, "Do you think that Feng Cantillon will submit to you after saving him? This person is extremely ambitious and you can't subdue him." At that moment, another crack appeared in the void and a golden-haired, blue-eyed man walked out. He was tall and his body was filled with golden light. Divine Demon Ridge. When the dark sky demon god and the yellow-robed man saw this person, they frowned. This was the overlord of the Divine Demon Ridge, a Protoss. He cultivated the demonic Tao and had established a force in the central region of the demonic region. He was extremely famous. The overlord of the Divine Demon Ridge smiled and said, "If the two of you can't subdue him, I can try." Ha! Another loud laugh sounded in the air. A gentle breeze blew and the fourth demon king had arrived. This Feng Cantillon once established the Zephyr Thunder Palace and must have trespassed into some Wind Dao techniques. In my opinion, why don't you join my Wind Demon sect? I can personally teach you techniques and increase your combat strength by another level. The Wind Demon sect's sect master appeared and said, "The Black Demon sect, Acheron Manor, Divine Demon Ridge, and Wind Demon sect were all heaven-ranked forces and the four of them were all peerless demon kings. Although the four peerless demon kings came from different sects and forces, they only had one goal and that was to subdue Feng Cantillon." Chapter 2390. Feng Cantillon's expression was solemn. He wasn't a match for just one demon king, let alone four. "Brother Su, if the situation turns bad, I'll attract their attention while you break through the void and leave this place." Feng Cantillon said with his divine sense, "Although I can't defeat them, it won't be easy for them to keep me here." Wu Dao's main body nodded slightly and didn't refuse. As long as he could bring Yen Beichen, Ming Zhen, and the others out of this place, it would be the greatest help to Feng Cantillon. Feng Cantillon wouldn't have any worries and his chances of escaping would be much higher. Gu Tongyu pondered for a while and said with his divine sense, "From the looks of it, the four demon kings seem to want to recruit the palace master. Can we make use of them and let them kill each other while we leave?" "How can it be so easy?" Tian Lang pursed his lips and said, "Cultivating to this level and ruling over a force of thousands of miles, who would be easily used by others." In the air, Dark Sky Demon God said slowly, "We all want to recruit Feng Cantillon, but he's only one person and can't join four forces at the same time. Feng Cantillon, don't worry." The overlord of Divine Demon Ridge was confident and said proudly, "As long as you're willing to join the Divine Demon Ridge, I'll naturally protect you. I can also teach you some secret techniques unique to Protoss to help you increase your battle strength." Apart from Dark Sky Demon God and the Wind Demon Sect Master, even the overlord of Divine Demon Ridge might make a promise. If a Grotto Heaven Realm expert joined any force, it would increase the overall strength of that force by a level. If true immortals and true demons were the pillars of strength and hope of each sect, Then true immortals and true demons were the pillars of strength and hope of the sect. Then immortal kings and demon kings were the top experts of each sect and decided the upper limit and future of the sect. Therefore, when they sensed that someone had entered the grotto heaven, the 4 demon kings immediately arrived and wanted to recruit Feng Cantion. The yellow-robed man suddenly laughed and shook his head. The 3 of you are quite lively, but have you asked for Taoist Feng's opinion? In my opinion, with Taoist Feng's spirit, I'm afraid he won't submit to us. The yellow-robed man had some understanding of Feng Cantion's past. Back then, Feng Cantion wanted to challenge not just 1 or 2 people, but a group of experts who stood at the peak of the divine firmament celestial realm. He wanted to challenge their authority and touch their interests. How much courage and guts did this require? How could someone who dared to do such a big thing easily yield and lower his head? The Lord of Divine Demon Ridge shrugged and said, given the current situation, he has to choose between the 4 of us. Does he have a second choice? Of course. The Black Heaven's demonic god said with a chilling tone that was filled with killing intent. The 4 peerless demon kings glanced at each other with tacit understanding. The second path was a dead end. If no one among the 4 of them could make Feng Cantion submit, then the 4 of them would choose to kill Feng Cantion. In this territory, they would never allow a powerhouse who was not under their control to rise up without being bound by their restrictions. Feng Cantion's potential was extremely great. If he was allowed to grow stronger, he would definitely threaten their position in the future and take over their territories. Therefore, if Feng Cantion chose the second path, the 4 peerless demon kings could only kill him. Feng Cantion, who do you choose to submit to? Asked the yellow-robed man. Feng Cantion clenched the frightening evil spear in his hand and took a deep breath. He said in a deep voice, I will not submit to any of you. None of you are qualified. The yellow-robed man was not surprised and said with a smile, what did I say? He really chose the second path. The Wind Demon sect leader frowned and said, Feng Cantion, do you know what the second path means? No need to say more. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Feng Cantion's eyes were like torches as he said loudly. The Lord of Divine Demon Ridge shook his head and a trace of pity flashed past his eyes. He walked towards Feng Cantion and said, I originally did not want to kill you, but since you insist, don't blame me. The Black Heaven's demonic god, the yellow-robed man, and the Wind Demon sect leader surrounded him at the same time. It was a pity to kill Feng Cantion, but it was not a complete loss for the 4 of them. Feng Cantion's grotto heaven nurtured his Dao technique. After killing Feng Cantion, the 4 peerless demon kings could divide his grotto heaven and merge the fragments into their own grotto heavens to strengthen themselves. Boom! The Black Heaven's demonic god did not hesitate and directly took out his grotto heaven. Behind him, the void collapsed and a huge pitch-black hole appeared. It was dark and deep inside without any light. Normally, he did not need to do this to a king who had just stepped into the grotto heaven realm. However, he was not only facing Feng Cantion, but also the other 3 peerless demon kings. The 4 of them had the same thought. They wanted to kill Feng Cantion and seize his grotto heaven to refine it. Therefore, the Black Heaven's demonic god did not dare to be careless. Boom! The Wind Demon sect leader also held up his grotto heaven. Behind him, a grotto heaven appeared and a hurricane swept out. Sand and stones flew everywhere and the momentum was terrifying. It caused the wind to howl between heaven and earth. Boom! The Lord of Divine Demon Ridge released his grotto heaven. His grotto heaven was the most terrifying. It was bright inside and emitted a dazzling golden light. It was like a blazing sun that floated behind him and could not be looked at directly. The 3 peerless demon kings held up their grotto heavens and charged towards Feng Cantion. At the same time, Feng Cantion also released his thunderbolt grotto heaven. The size of his grotto heaven was obviously much smaller than the 3 demon kings. It floated behind him and could only accommodate his body. The grotto heavens of the 3 peerless demon kings were more than 10 times larger than Feng Cantion's grotto heaven. It was as if they could swallow heaven and earth and destroy everything. The moment the thunderbolt grotto heaven appeared, it trembled and shook continuously. It let out creaking sounds. The lightning within the grotto heaven flickered. under the pressure of the three grotto heavens, it could be destroyed at any time. The difference was too great. Feng Cantillon had just formed his grotto heaven and had not fully grasped the power of the grotto heaven. Even if he faced one peerless demon king, it would be difficult for him to win, let alone the three of them. On the other side, although the yellow-robed man had also walked over, he did not attack Feng Cantillon. Instead, he said with a smile, "The three of you, I'll leave Feng Cantillon to you. I'll kill this junior first." The yellow-robed man moved and charged towards Wu Dao's original body. He had indeed come here for Feng Cantillon. However, when he arrived, he made an unexpected discovery. If he was not wrong, the item in the hands of the purple-robed man with the silver mask should be the legendary weapon of the Emperor of Eternity, the prison's suppressing cauldron. The yellow-robed man did not move because he was waiting for this moment. The attention of the three peerless demon kings was on Feng Cantillon. Since they could not split themselves, no one fought with him for the prison's suppressing cauldron. Chapter 2391. Wu Dao's true body had long sensed the killing intent of the yellow-robed man. Before the latter could do anything, Wu Dao's true body activated the health-suppressing cauldron and smashed it against the void. Boom! There was a deafening sound. A crack appeared in the void with sinister winds that led to an unknown place. Wu Dao's true body waved his sleeves and released his supreme divine power, Universe in sleeves, sweeping Yen Beichen and the others into it. He was prepared to enter the spatial tunnel and head to Avicii. Right then, the territorial lord of Godfiend Ridge said, "Feng Can, you're way too naive if you think that you can escape from this place despite being surrounded by the three of us. You won't even have the chance to escape into the void with the three grotto heavens surrounding you." When he heard that, the heart of Wu Dao's true body sank. Just as he was distracted for a moment, an incomparably terrifying wave of divine sense rushed over and slammed into the mask of Mo Luo. The yellow-robed man had no intention of holding back and released his essence spirit secret skill right away. The power of the essence spirit of the grotto heaven realm coupled with his essence spirit secret skill was unimaginable and was enough to kill Wu Dao's true body. However, the essence spirit secret skill caused the mask of Mo Luo to defend automatically when it struck it. After transcending the true martial heavenly tribulation, the mask was completely under the control of Wu Dao's true body and possessed a spirit consciousness. When it sensed danger, it defended automatically to protect Wu Dao's true body. Suddenly, ripples appeared on the mask of Mo Luo like the surface of a lake. All of a sudden, a menacing ghost face appeared on the surface of the lake. It was either laughing or crying, happy or sad, shocked or fearful. It was shuddering. There were 7 different emotions on the ghost face: joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hatred, and lust. The ghost face seemed to possess a strange demonic power. Any cultivator who saw the ghost face would feel mental demons from the depths of their hearts uncontrollably, causing their minds to be in chaos. Although the mask of Mo Luo was strong, it could not dispel the essence spirit secret skill of a peerless fiend king. Although the mask of Mo Luo defended against half of the killing power, the other half penetrated the mask and surged into the consciousness of Wu Dao's true body. A wisp of murky Acheron flowed into his sea of consciousness. With the Moloch mask blocking for a moment, Wu Dao's true body reacted and released his essence spirit secret skill hurriedly. The martial spirit's flame exploded and collided with Acheron's water, producing a sizzling sound. I created the Wu Dao, which is unprecedented. However, the Dao of the true martial realm did not surpass the grotto heavens of the immortals, Buddhas, and demons. Limited by his cultivation realm, Wu Dao's main body's martial soul was extremely different from the yellow-robed man's essence spirit. Although his essence spirit secret skill was strong, it could not defend against the killing power of a peerless fiend king. In the blink of an eye, the martial spirit fire was extinguished by Acheron's water. However, with the protection of the Mara mask and the martial spirit flame, the stream of Acheron's water was weakened significantly. It was unable to inflict any fatal damage to Wu Dao's martial spirit, while Acheron's water sprinkled onto Wu Dao's martial soul. A strong corrosive force continuously corroded the martial soul. Although the martial soul was not directly destroyed by Acheron's water, it was still corroded. The light of the martial soul dimmed and its body emitted a rotten smell. Wu Dao's main body took out a fretless fruit from his storage bag and swallowed it. The power of the fretless fruit turned into rays of milky white holy light that flowed into his sea of consciousness, nourishing his martial soul and gradually repairing the damage it had suffered. At this moment, Wu Dao's main body suddenly realized that the battlefield was filled with a strange atmosphere. The yellow-robed man's essence spirit secret skill had almost killed him, but he did not take any further action. Instead, he looked at Sumo's face with a wary expression and a trace of fear flashed across the depths of his eyes. On the other side of the battlefield, the three fiend kings that were attacking Feng Cantillon also stopped and gradually retreated. As they retreated, the three fiend kings also stared at the face of Wu Dao's main body. They seemed to have discovered something and their expressions were uncertain. Feng Cantillon panted slightly. When he saw this scene, he was a little confused and did not know what had happened. Just a moment ago, when his lightning grotto heaven was about to be crushed by the three fiend kings, the yellow-robed man beside him attacked Wu Dao's main body and released a essence spirit secret skill. When the three fiend kings saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically and they retreated one after another. Mo Luo mask? The yellow-robed man stared at the face of Wu Dao's main body and suddenly said. When they heard these four words, Dark Sky Demon God, the Wind Demon Sect Master, and the Overlord of Divine Demon Ridge narrowed their eyes and their pupils constricted. How is Bo Sun related to you? The yellow-robed man asked again. Wu Dao's main body only looked at the other party calmly and did not say a word. He had no relationship with Bo Sun. If they had to be related, it would be more appropriate to say that they were enemies. However, Wu Dao's main body's silence made the yellow-robed man and the other three fiend kings feel that he was even more unfathomable. Not long ago, the news of Bo Sun's reappearance had already spread to the demon region. The fiend kings were in an uproar and were greatly shocked. A long-lost fear rose in their hearts. One had to know that Bo Sun had dominated the demon region in the past. He was invincible and supreme. He commanded the fiend kings and no one dared to disobey him. After Bo Sun's death, the fiend kings fought with each other. No one could suppress the fiend kings anymore. Subsequently, the fiend kings fell into chaos and division, which lasted until today. Back then, if more than 20 fiend kings from the Nine Heavens Immortal Domain and the Pure Lands did not join forces to set up an ambush and send Bo Sun into the Avicii Hell, the entire heaven realm would have been under Bo Sun's control. More than 20 fiend kings joined forces and failed to kill Bo Sun. They had to rely on the Avicii Hell to suppress him. This showed how powerful Bo Sun was back then. And now, Bo Sun had escaped from the Avicii Hell. Even the Avicii Hell could not trap him. It was said that after Bo Sun escaped, he killed the 4 heavenly kings of the Pure Lands on the Taiwei Mountain. Then, he escaped into the demon region and no one knew where he went. Everyone knew that Imperial Monarch Bo Sun would definitely make a comeback after escaping this time. With Bo Sun's power, he would definitely be able to unify the demon region again. However, Bo Sun seemed to have disappeared from the demon region in 1,000 years. There was no news of him at all. All the fiend kings knew that Bo Sun must be in the demon region, but no one knew where he was. And now, Bo Sun's Mara mask had reappeared in front of the 4 fiend kings. What did this mean? The 4 fiend kings could not see through Wu Dao's real body. They always felt that this person was mysterious. Now, the 4 fiend kings finally understood. This person must be Bo Sun, who had disappeared without a trace, behind him. Perhaps only Emperor Bo Sun could nurture such a mysterious and powerful cultivator. At this moment, Bo Sun might be standing in a corner, quietly watching everything that was happening here. Thinking of this, the 4 fiend kings could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. They broke out in cold sweat. Farewell. Fiend God Black Heavens cupped his fists at Wu Dao's real body and disappeared into the void without turning back. The sect master of Wind Fiend Sect and the territorial lord of Divine Fiend Ridge followed closely behind. They tore through the void and left the place as though they were escaping. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. We'll meet again if we're fated. The yellow-robed man cupped his fists at Wu Dao's real body and chuckled dryly before turning and escaping into the void as well. In the blink of an eye, the 4 fiend kings had escaped and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2392. Feng Cantillon was stunned. After a long while, he regained his senses and laughed. The 4 peerless demon kings came aggressively, but they did not expect that after recognizing the Mara mask on Wu Dao's face, they would flee. Around the Zephyr Thunder Palace, other than the few of them, the rest of the cultivators had already fled without a trace. After the crisis was resolved, Wu Dao waved his sleeves and released Yen Beichen and the others. They were in Wu Dao's sleeves and saw what happened outside. They could not help but smile, and the joy of surviving a disaster surged in their hearts. No one expected that this time, not only did they resist the siege of the supreme true demon Yen Zui and millions of demons, but they also resolved the killing intent of the 4 peerless demon kings. Not only that, Feng Cantillon had also successfully stepped into the Grotto Heaven realm and became an immortal king. Although the Zephyr Thunder Palace was almost destroyed, as long as Feng Cantillon was still here, the Zephyr Thunder Palace would definitely be rebuilt at the fastest speed after the news of today's battle spread out. Moreover, with an immortal king in charge, the Zephyr Thunder Palace could already be considered a heaven-level sect, and its strength had increased greatly. Tian Lang said excitedly, "If I knew that the old master's name was so useful, old Yen, you should have shown the K2 saber." Yen Beichen shook his head slightly, not thinking much of it. Those people recognized the Mara mask, but they might not be able to recognize the K2 saber. Once the Mara mask was activated, a ghostly face would appear. It was extremely terrifying and unforgettable. However, the K2 saber did not have any obvious characteristics. In other words, with his realm, he could not unleash the true power of the K2 saber. "Brother Su, I won't say any words of gratitude." Feng Cantillon came in front of Wu Dao and took out 2 jars of strong wine. He handed one to Wu Dao and said with a smile, "Come, drink." But Wu Dao took the wine jar, took off the Mara mask, and drank the strong wine with Feng Cantillon. There were no outsiders here. They were either old friends of Tianhuang region or had helped him before. There was no need to hide the identity of Wu Dao's original body from them. Everyone already knew his identity. Only Gu Tongyu and Qiu Si Luo were surprised, their eyes revealing disbelief. "Fellow Taoists, how have you been?" Wu Dao's main body smiled faintly, not bothering to hide his voice. "It's really you?" Gu Tongyu and Qiu Si Luo exclaimed. "How can we miss out on drinking?" Sirius smelled the aroma of the wine and hurriedly came over. His saliva flowed out as he muttered, "Although we didn't do anything, we're still happy. Come, let's drink." Feng Cantillon laughed loudly and took out a few jars of strong liquor to distribute to everyone. Feng Cantillon turned his head to look at Tian Lang and asked with a smile, "Oh right, what do you mean by the 7 emotions demonic general?" "Ah, feeling guilty," Sky Wolf smiled embarrassedly. "Nothing, I was just talking nonsense." "It doesn't matter. Tell me about it." Feng Cantillon waved his hand. Taking advantage of the wine, Sky Wolf's courage was boosted. He coughed lightly and said, "Our Heaven Baron sect is preparing to find 7 suitable people to form the 7 emotions demonic general and expand our territory in the demon domain. We already have suitable candidates for the joy of 7 emotions and the hatred of 7 emotions. They are Old Yen and Bald Mingjin, Little Monk. I saw that palace master just now. When he was breaking through, his grotto heaven seemed to be nurturing the might of the heavenly tribulation and the fury of thunder, which is most suitable for the fury of 7 emotions. That's why I instigated Master to pull you in." "Fury of 7 emotions," Feng Cantillon nodded and said, "After hearing what you said, there's no one more suitable than me." Sky Wolf was stunned. Everyone else was also surprised. They could tell that Feng Cantillon seemed to be implying something. Feng Cantillon continued, "From today onwards, I'm one of the 7 emotions demonic general." "Palace Master, Gu Tongyu and Chiu Siluo wanted to say something but stopped. After all, Feng Kentian was the palace master of the Zephyr Thunder Palace. If he ran to the Heaven Baron sect to become a Seven Emotions demonic general, what would happen to the Zephyr Thunder Palace? Moreover, Feng Kentian was an immortal king. Being a Seven Emotions demonic general was a little condescending. Big brother Feng, how can this be? Feng Kentian waved his hand and interrupted Wu Dao just as he was about to speak. There's nothing wrong with it. Feng Kentian said, the Heaven Baron sect that you founded has the same ideals and ambitions as mine. There's no need for the Zephyr Thunder Palace to exist. From today onwards, I'll join the Heaven Baron sect. In his opinion, the name Heaven Baron sect was more meaningful. Gu Tongyu and Chiu Siluo looked at each other and nodded secretly. If Feng Kentian joined the Heaven Baron sect, they would naturally follow. Moreover, the two of them had known Su Zimo for a long time and did not have any conflict with the Heaven Baron sect. It's great that Big Brother Feng can join the Heaven Baron sect. Wu Dao said, in this way, I can also step down from the position of patriarch and let Big Brother Feng manage the Heaven Baron sect. Wu Dao's original body did not have the slightest attachment to the position of patriarch. He was wholeheartedly focused on cultivation. Although he had the title of patriarch before, he had not really managed the sect. It was all managed by Tian Lang. Now that Feng Kentian had joined the Heaven Baron sect, whether it was cultivation, status, battle strength, experience, or fame, he was more suitable to be the patriarch than him. Feng Kentian shook his head and said, you still have to be the patriarch. This, Wu Dao's original body frowned. I'm not being modest, Feng Kentian said with a smile. First of all, the Heaven Baron sect was originally established by you. If I join, I will take the position of patriarch, which is against the rules. Secondly, although my cultivation is above yours, this time around, it was you who acted to save us. Moreover, no matter how strong I am, I can't scare away 4 peerless demon kings. The Black Sky Demon God and the others were afraid of Emperor Bo Sun and Wu Dao's original body, not Feng Kentian. Therefore, Wu Dao's original body sitting on the position of patriarch had an invisible deterrent force to many forces and demon kings in many demon domains. Feng Kentian continued, this third point is also the most important point. I have a premonition that it won't be long before you surpass me. Feng Kentian could not imagine what level a person who had attracted the 9x9 heavenly tribulation, or even the unprecedented 10th heavenly tribulation would reach in the future. Seeing that Feng Kentian was so determined, Wu Dao's original body could not persuade him anymore. He could only smile bitterly and say, I should be in seclusion most of the time, I really don't have the time and energy to manage the sect. That's fine. Feng Kentian waved his hand and said, I can take the position of vice patriarch. You can go ahead and cultivate. Leave the matters of the sect to me. That's good. Wu Dao's original body was relieved. Feng Kentian thought for a moment and said, originally, when I entered the Grotto Heaven and became an immortal king, I didn't think of a suitable title. Since I've decided to become the Fury of 7 Emotions, my title will be Heaven's Wrath. Heaven was taken from the last word of Feng Santian's name. Wrath was the fury of 7 emotions. Heaven's Wrath, Immortal King. Wu Dao's original body murmured and nodded. The title of Heaven's Wrath was indeed worthy of Feng Santian's boldness. Chapter 2393. Gu Tongyu and Chiu Siluo looked at each other. The latter looked at Wu Dao and asked with a smile, is the Heaven Baron sect willing to take us in? There's no problem at all. I'll agree to it. Feng Kentian laughed loudly. The martial Dao body pondered for a moment and asked seriously, I wonder if the two of you are willing to join the 7 Emotions demonic generals? Gu Tongyu and Chiu Siluo were slightly stunned. Wu Dao nodded and said, the combination of the zither and flute is indeed a heavenly sound. Brother Gu's flute sounds are sad and sorrowful. It makes one feel sad and sad. It is indeed worthy of the word, sorrowful. Brother Chiu's zither sounds are mellow like flowing water, like the singing of an oriole. It is full of love and comforts one's heart like the warm sun. It is worthy of the word, love. Back in the divine firmament celestial realm, Qinglian's true body was devastated when she heard the news of Ji Yaoshue's death. Even her Dao heart was damaged and could not heal. It was Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo who played the song Reminiscence, together to free Qinglian's true body. Hearing the sound of the zither, the pain in her heart could be vented. Listening to the sound of the zither, the scar on her Dao heart could be healed. At that time, although Wu Dao's true body was far away in the Tianhuang mainland and was separated from the divine firmament celestial realm, he could still feel the sadness and love in the zither and flute. The song Reminiscence could affect Wu Dao's true body even across two worlds. It showed the power of Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo's zither and flute combination. The sound of their zither and flute was not only infused with their Taoist techniques, but also their emotions. Can we do it too? Qiu Siluo was still in disbelief. After all, among the 7 emotions demonic generals, there was Feng Cantion, the heaven's wrath immortal king. The two of them were not qualified to be compared to an immortal king. This time, before Wu Dao body could speak, Feng Cantion said, "The two of you don't have to belittle yourselves. I've cultivated for so many years, but I've never seen anyone who could surpass the two of you in terms of music." There are. Qiu Siluo seemed to have thought of someone and said in a low voice, "Zither immortal Meng Yao?" Wu Dao's main body seemed to have seen through Qiu Siluo's thoughts and asked. Back then, in order to seize the soul-hooking zither from Qiu Siluo, Zither immortal Meng Yao had mobilized a large force and even personally chased after the two of them. The two of them had nowhere to run in the divine firmament celestial realm, so they were forced to go to the demon territory. By chance, they joined the Zephyr Thunder Palace. Qiu Siluo nodded gently. In terms of music, Fairy Meng Yao was recognized as the best zither fairy in the 9 clouds celestial realm and even the entire heaven world. As for Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo, they were not famous at all, so no one knew about them. Zither immortal? That's just an undeserved reputation. Wu Dao's main body was extremely disdainful of Meng Yao. It was not because the two of them had any grudges, but because there was no emotion in Meng Yao's music, only her Dao. "My two friends, one day, your achievements in music will surpass Meng Yao's." After pausing for a moment, Wu Dao's main body continued, "In addition, Meng Yao once sent the executioner guards to hunt you down. This matter cannot be forgotten. I will find an opportunity to appear." Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were moved, but they were also a little worried. Qiu Siluo hurriedly said, "Patriarch, let's just forget about this matter. The Zither Immortal's influence and reputation in the 9 clouds is too great, and she is far away in the divine firmament celestial realm. Don't put yourself in danger for the two of us." Wu Dao's main body nodded slightly, but he did not comment. Of course, he would not rush to the flying celestial sect in the divine firmament celestial realm alone to ask for an explanation. That was simply courting death. This kind of thing needed to be patient and wait for an opportunity. At this point, the 7 emotions generals of joy, anger, sorrow, love, and hatred had all been chosen. They were Mingzhen, Feng Cantion, Gu Tongyu, Qiu Siluo, and Yan Beichen. 5 of the 7 emotions demonic generals had already taken their positions. The positions of fear and desire were still empty. This kind of thing could not be rushed. Tian Lang could not sit still at the side. He leaned over and whispered, "Master, do you think I'm suitable? There are only 2 positions left. Based on our relationship, you have to leave one for me." "You can't." Wu Dao's main body shook his head again and refused. Tian Lang was so angry that he rolled his eyes. No matter what, he was the 7 emotions demonic general in the past. After his reincarnation, his cultivation speed was not slow, and his combat strength was not weak. Why was he always looked down upon? "Why can't I?" Tian Lang muttered. "Those 2 people, one is a flute player, and the other is a zither player. They are just playing with music. What can they do? If they can become the 7 emotions demonic generals, why can't I?" Wu Dao's main body put on the Mo Luo mask again and said indifferently, "If you are not convinced, go and listen to them play a song." Let's go. Tian Lang sneered. He had lived 2 lives and his mental state was strong. How could he be suppressed by a mere zither and flute combination? Tian Lang held his head high and went to find Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo. Wu Dao's main body ignored him. Instead, he cleaned up the battlefield with Feng Cantian, Yan Beichen, and the others. This time, Yan Zi, Fairy Zai, and the others led 18 demon armies and millions of demon masters. In the end, they were all wiped out. The millions of demon soldiers were turned into ashes by the heavenly tribulation, leaving behind storage bags all over the ground. Once all of this was collected, it would be a huge fortune, enough to support the rapid development of the Heaven Wasteland sect and allow it to rise to another level. Brother Su, where do you plan to develop the Heaven Baron sect? Feng Cantian asked. Wu Dao's main body asked, what do you think, Brother Feng? Feng Cantian analyzed. The central region of the demon domain has many different factions and the situation is chaotic. Although the resources here are abundant, there are fights every day and the competition is extremely intense. If we choose the edge of the demon domain, the resources will be much less, but it will be relatively safe. After a pause, Feng Cantian smiled bitterly and said, my Zephyr Thunder Palace in the central region is already a failure. I suggest we develop it at the edge of the demon domain. Okay, then let's return to the Heaven Baron sect. Wu Dao's main body nodded. Feng Santian's thoughts were the same as his. Although Feng Cantian had become an immortal king and the Heaven Baron sect's strength had increased greatly, the situation in the central region of the demon domain was too complicated and chaotic. It was not suitable for the Heaven Baron sect to develop. Moreover, Feng Cantian had just entered the Grotto Heaven realm and needed to cultivate for a while to stabilize his realm and familiarize himself with the power of the Grotto Heaven realm. Among the 7 emotions demonic generals, other than Feng Cantian, the other 4 also needed time to improve their battle strength. Although Yan Beichen and the other 3 were called the 7 emotions demonic generals, they still needed to grow. At the very least, they needed to reach the peak of the Heaven Immortal realm. Wu Dao's main body also prepared to cultivate in seclusion. Not long after, the battlefield was cleaned up. Everyone prepared to return to the Heaven Baron sect. Let's go! Feng Cantian called out. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo had already put away the zither and flute. Everyone was ready. Only Tian Lang was still immersed in the zither and flute, unable to extricate himself. I'm not going. Why am I so bitter? That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.